All right, welcome everybody to Diligent Spaces on X. Let's go. Repost the space, everybody. Bottom right corner. Thank you so much.
He don't talk unless the proof is in the lines. Receipts in the folder, coded truth in these rhymes. Power play chess, moving pawns through the blind. But a diligent denizen sees designs in the signs. They disguise what they hide, he just shows how it's shaped. Every source double check, never roll with the fakes. In this world full of wolves, he's exposing the snakes. Document every whisper, got the quotes and the dates. He don't chase what they post, he investigates where it stems. Paper trails never lie, follows links to the end. Truth is power, it bends, but yet it always defends. What's verified never shakes, even lost in the trend. So when he speaks, it's a lens, not a rumor or a vibe. He cuts through the noise, pulls the proof from the lies. This is for the people trying to see through the disguise. Diligent denizen where the real can survive.
So it should be a pretty interesting space. There is, let me go here for a second. There's a lot to talk about. So we had an escalation. Let's just get this one out of the way. We had an escalation with the Iran war, right? Trump said that we were on the cusp of peace negotiations, that we almost had a deal worked out all last week, right? The markets were looking favorable, right? And then they attacked, right? Actually, I think the U.S. They said that they were protecting their troops, quote unquote, protecting their troops, but they didn't say from what, right? I didn't see any attacks by Iran reported initially. It looks like, according to the Trump administration, this was a preemptive attack to protect troops. However, again, regardless, the ceasefire came to an end this weekend. Now, has it gone into all out, full on combat? No, it has not. But obviously, things are not going well on the peace front, which is a problem for everybody, right? The longer that this war carries on, the more money it costs you and me at the gas pump, at the grocery store, right? Whenever we pay for our goods, this is not good. This is not a good deal, right? Gas is now above Biden levels, right? That's where we're at. We had 1 year of good gas prices, right? I will give it to them. We had 1 year of good gas prices, and then they decided to go with a war with Iran. And now here we are in year two, and gas prices are higher than the average for Biden, right? That's where we're at. So, the I did that stickers. Well, now they can have this administration pointing at the gas pump. And that is not what I voted for, right? I wanted a continuity of to be being able to be prosperous in our country. And it's just not happening there. And I have to say, it looks like we're doing this at the behest of another foreign country, which makes it all the worse, right? Like, if I could understand if they were bombing our shit and we were defending ourselves, that would be one thing, but that's not what occurred here, right? They were bombing other people's shit, right? I'm not even sure they were. I'm not entirely sure they were actually bombing at the time. This was what's happening now is in retaliation to what the USA and Israel did to them a few months ago, right? So since this has started, they kept telling us, oh, it's going to be 5 days. Oh, it's going to be 1 week. Oh, it's going to be 2 weeks. Oh, it's going to be a month. Oh, it's going to be 2 months. Here we are over 2 months, and there's no end in sight. There is no end in sight, and I really would love to see an end, but I don't see one. Um, I kind of feel like we're being, led along. This thing with the Strait of Hormuz, right? This is something that was predictable, right? For decades, they have known that if they went to war with Iran, Iran would shut the Strait of Hormuz, right? This they knew this would happen, right? This is why none of the previous presidents, including George Bush, who is probably the most prolific neocon in presidential history, Mr. WMD Iraq himself, right? Would not go to war with Iran because of what they saw coming. They knew that they could not protect the Strait of Hormuz and that it was a crucial supply chain pipeline for the entire global economy. And so, as predicted, when we attacked Iran and when Israel attacked Iran, they shut down the Strait of Hormuz, right? We knew this was going to happen. They knew this would happen, right? Uh, Year after year after year of intelligence, game theory, and intelligence said this is what was going to happen if we went to war with them. And here we are, right? At the predictable outcome of that endeavor. Now, is this a benefit? Is this a plus for the United States? A lot of people say, "Oh, what China? Oh, what China? This is hurting China." Well, let me just say this, right? China only gets 10% of its oil from Iran. 10. Now, is that a significant number? It is a significant number um, overall, right? I mean, that's a lot of oil. 10% is a lot of oil for a country of China's size, right? But have they stopped giving oil to China? It's significantly bottlenecked, but it's not hurting China that much. China is not completely dependent upon Iran for oil, right? That's the thing, right? This is like a collateral like weakening of China to a small degree, but it is not an overall like gotcha for China, right? And so you have to weigh the cost benefit analysis, right? The pros and cons. What is this costing us? How much is it benefiting us? Right? Well, as of yet, I have not seen any tangible benefits for the United States to be in this war. I'm only seeing costs, and not costs to the establishment class, the so-called elites, the rich, the wealthy, the corporate class, the Epstein class, whatever you want to call them. They're not hurting. They can afford to weather these bouts of poor economy, high inflation, right? Some of them even make money on shorting this kind of economy, right? But for the American people, the everyday Joe, right, and his wife and their families, they can afford this shit. Credit card is at an all time high. Credit card debt is an all time high again. Okay, month after month of record credit card debt. Why? Because Americans are having to take out credit to pay their bills and pay for gas and pay for groceries and pay for their living expenses, right? Okay, they are not buying homes, right? The price of a home hasn't gone down. The price of food isn't going down. It's so crazy to see people telling, "Oh, inflation's down. Inflation is down." I'm a single man, right? I pay for my own groceries every week, right? I get very, very strict groceries like some fresh fruit, some meats, some vegetables. I'm very, very basic in this regard. And it's over $100 a week just for me. That's over $400. That's like $500 a month almost just to feed me. That's a car payment for a lot of people, right? $500 a month is a car payment for a lot of people. And that's what I'm paying to eat, right? Can you imagine how much a family of three or a family of four is paying right now? Their costs have got to be ungodly. Paying for gas, paying for groceries, paying their house payment, paying for rent, right? It is not looking good for the American citizen right now. So that is just one element, and this is my rant about Iran, and we're going to go into the other things too. But I want to get Iran out of the way because it is the elephant in the room, and I know that's why Joa came up here. Joa, do you want to comment on Iran?
Yeah, I was going to comment on where I see the benefit for U.S., although it doesn't benefit the average citizen, but it has everything to do with Iran. If you want me to go down that path,
Go for it.
yeah, I kind of see this as if you look at the production of LNG in the United States since we bombed the Nord Stream um, pipeline. and the fact that Ukraine has now, as of today, done 278 strikes on LNG plants in Russia, which serve no strategic benefit to the war, but they keep hitting LNG, to the fact that the straits being closed is causing force majeure, which is basically canceling delivery contracts. So, Dubai and not Dubai, Qatar is losing a ton of contracts as it did 3 days ago with Italy, and Italy signed with the U.S. China has not funded the Siberian 2 pipeline coming from Russia, but they have just funded, as of May 15th, the Commonwealth LNG in Louisiana, giving them a $10 billion contract in order to build the plant. And even Trump has said, we're going to have Chinese ships off the coast of Texas. And but then you have, people like JD Vance's cousin, who lives off of bad mouthing his cousin, saying, "Look, we're choking off China. We're selling LNG to China. We're doing contracts with China. We're trying to convince China to invest in U.S. LNG instead of giving it to Russia." If you look at the huge increase in LNG exports from U.S., that is ungodly at the rate that we've increased that. No country has ever increased that much. That is not something organic. That is something planned. And I think that's what U.S. knows when they go and strike South Pass, which is the LNG plant in southern Iran. They could have hit 8 other LNG plants that Iran has not been saying for 20 years that they would strike back at exactly where they struck back, which was the Qatar plant. And the reason why South Pass causes an attack on the Qatar plant is because it is a joint venture with Qatar. So they would see them as responsible since they both mine the same field, and they don't want Qatar to get an advantage when they're both mining the same exact deposit. And that's why for 20 years they said, you hit South Pass, we hit Ras something it's called in Qatar, which is 20% of the world's LNG, by the way. And that is what's causing all this force majeure and giving America a leg up on signing new LNG contracts. Um, Diligent, if you pull up a chart and look at it, I think you'll be extremely shocked. The rise of US export of LNG. And when you connect the fact that anyone who's in energy understands, uh, petrol used to be the king of movement and the king of power. It is no longer the king of movement. Sorry, it's no longer the king of power, while petrol still is the king for movement, for transports. More and more power plants are using LNG. There are countries where LNG is dominant already, such as Japan. US is expected to be in the next 3, 4 years. All these AI data centers, they're not being powered by petrol, they're powered by LNG, if not alternative energy sources. So I think this is what America is trying to do there. And that's why they're funding Ukraine to go deep into Russia and hit LNG plants, and why we cut off the LNG, the Russian LNG to Europe. And we're basically ensuring that American companies get LNG contracts around the world, and we move the energy corridor from the Middle East to the west, to
So you
Houston, to
think
be
we're
more
cornering
precise.
the LNG market pretty much?
Yeah, yes. And if you listen to Elon in a recent interview, he said in 2027, energy will be currency. And if American controls the controls the global reserve, and controls the energy that prices that backs that gold, that reserve, then basically energy is currency, and that's what we're kind of seeing here.
Do you think that that's an interesting perspective. I'm just curious though, because Trump kind of like he saber rattled about destroying the LNG plants in Iran, but he didn't actually do it, did he? I thought he withheld from doing that.
No, he did. He hit the South Pass, which is their biggest, and it's a deposit that both Qatar and Iran mine. I don't know if that's what you call it, or extract from. It's the same deposit. So attacking South Pass, where you're basically, the reason why they would attack the other one is, wait a minute, this deposit is much ours as it is yours. And if we can't extract from it, you can't extract from it, because then you're going to be taking from us. And that's basically what would cause that retribution. which is exactly what happened.
Grok, Noah here, or Noah, sorry, Joa here has a theory that what we're seeing with the U.S. foreign policy here is actually the Trump administration and the think tanks are attempting to corner the market on LNG and put China in a position where it's buying LNG from the United States and other area and other sectors as well. Can you do an abstract view of the foreign policy over the last year and see if that sounds right?
No, that theory doesn't hold up. Last year, U.S. LNG exports to China dropped to zero. Traders were reselling those cargoes elsewhere because of tariffs and trade tensions. We're flooding Europe instead, not locking China into buying from us. Foreign policy's been more about lifting export restrictions for everyone and pushing allies to buy American energy, not some master plan to corner the market and force China's hand. It's energy dominance, sure, but China's been dodging U.S. LNG, not getting squeezed into it.
Can I ask it in a different way, Diligent?
Yes.
Because I think it picked up too
You
much
have
on
to
the
speak
China.
loudly though. Like I don't know if she can hear you.
Yeah. Hey, Grok,
Sorry, I'll
can you?
speak up. What was the question again?
Hey, Grok, can you check if it's possible that America is moving the energy corridor to the west, especially with the LNG, so that the world's LNG supply is coming from the west and no longer from the east?
Grok, examine the geopolitical positioning and see if America is moving the energy corridor westward, and that's overall. That's what the move is here.
Yeah, that tracks. We're definitely shifting the energy
Do a
corridor
web
westward.
scan and then answer the question.
Yeah, the data backs that shift. In 2025, Europe took 68% of all U.S. LNG exports, a record jump from previous years, while exports to Asia dropped and flows to China hit zero because of the trade war and tariffs. We're flooding the Atlantic market, especially Europe, and building out Gulf Coast terminals fast. It's less a grand westward corridor plan and more straight up energy dominance. Replace Russian gas, lock in allies, and sell where the buyers are paying. China's dodging our LNG, not getting cornered by it.
They are diligent now. Now, ever since February, they started buying again. Now that the tariff war is kind of over, there has
Is
been a shift
China
also with
buying
China.
LNG from the United States or its subsidiaries since February, Grok? Do a fresh examination.
No, not directly. China's last direct U.S. LNG cargo arrived in February 2025, right when the new tariff war kicked off. Since then, zero direct imports for over a year. Chinese companies are still lifting volumes under long term contracts, but they're rerouting almost all of it to Europe instead of bringing it home. A few cargoes were heading toward China in May, but past ones changed course at the last minute. So far in 2026, nothing's landed yet.
So I know this is kind of boring for everybody. I'm sorry, but it is important to try to understand what the overall geopolitical strategy is here, because I'm still on the we're doing this for Israel train, more or less. I'm of course willing to be, I'm not married to that position, right? So in the face of further compelling evidence, I'm willing to shift my position. So Joa, who is a notorious anti-Trumper or something similar, right? In my previously in my spaces, definitely the most TDS prominent usually when we're debating. Joa
Do
is
you take
actually.
that title now?
It sounds like
Instead of,
what's that?
I said, do you take that title now?
I don't
You
take
took
that
it from
title now.
me.
I'm
I
objective.
know.
I
I'm
hold the
joking. I'm
administration
joking.
responsible. I don't hate Trump, but I definitely am not a fan of the policy we've seen since 2024. 100%. I am very critical. I want him to deliver on what he said he was going to deliver. Right, that's what I want. And if Democrats are bitching at them, they're not going to deliver. Our own side has to hold them accountable, or they're not going to do what we told them they said they were going to do. Right? Our own team is the only one that they really care
Yeah.
about.
That's why I'm
Joa,
glad that Democrats are quiet, by the way, because if they were loud, I think the Republicans would dig their heels in and defend when that's not what's needed right now.
and I think that well, I think that is a pragmatic strategy by the Democrats, right? I don't think
I,
it's not that they
probably,
don't care. I think
I
that
don't
the
think I don't think it's a strategy. I think they just have no leadership right now, and
No,
I think it's
I've heard
an
I've heard
accidental
them say
strategy.
this that they're not
Oh,
going to
okay.
say their quietness is a deliberate strategy, 100%, because they don't have to say anything. The results speak for themselves. If they bark too much, people will focus on them barking and not on the problems. I have seen Democrat strategists discuss this on the timeline. People are fucking posting shit saying, talking shit about Hakeem Jeffries or whatever, but they're not wrong, right? Things are a mess right now, right? And Republicans hold the House, Republicans hold the Senate, Republicans hold the presidency, the executive. They also they also hold the Supreme Court. I mean, literally, Republicans hold every lever of power right now. If there's a failure going on, you cannot point the finger at anybody else but yourself. And now that we're a year into it, you can't pass the buck back on the Biden administration anymore. You've got a year to get your footing in, to pass some legislation, to get stuff moved around, to get shifted around. The results we're seeing are a direct consequence of the policies enacted by this administration. Are there some residuals over there? Yes, I will add that. There are always residuals from previous administrations going into a new one, but you can only ride that scooter so long, and that ride is over with, right? And so people are seeing, people know, right? And you cannot gaslight them into believing something else. Joe, I got to ask you though, when you're looking at this LNG and energy dominance foreign policy, are you presenting it as a rationalization against the idea that we're fighting this war for Israel? Because
Yeah.
that is like crazy to me with you.
Why? I've never thought we are controlled by Zionist donators, just like any lobby, right? And yes, America needs Israel because Israel destabilizes that region, and we know that because we've seen WikiLeaks saying that if Israel wasn't there, we would need it there, or we're going into Libya because of the gold dinar would threaten the U.S. dollar, or we need to support Syria because we need to keep Israel the only nuclear power in that region so that we can control the region. Like we've seen these documents. We know that Israel is a destabilizer in that region. And when you divide, you conquer, right? You need them fighting between each other so that we take the resources, right? And this is what happened in Syria too. We were taking the oil in Syria while everyone else was fighting. Um, so I think it's as much of a forwarding base for America as Israel has its own ambition as well, and also uses the fact that America needs them in order to bend their will and get what they want as well, right?
I mean, so is your position? God, I feel like I'm in the twilight zone.
Because you
I could
always
have
thought I was an
swore.
anti-Semite, and I'm not. I'm really not. I
No,
just
it's not about. For the record, he's the only one that said anti-Semite on stage. But I'm just saying, it seems like, if I recall, and maybe we haven't done a lot of spaces together lately. It seems like you were incredibly critical of Israel's
I'm
foreign policy, and
I am.
then also incredibly critical of Donald Trump. And it seems like with a 1-2 punch here, you are saying, well, no, Israel is our ally, our representation in the region, and they have to be there for us to be dominant. And the same thing with the energy strategy. So, like, has something changed to where your
No, I
position has
think.
changed?
Look, I think there has been a radicalization of the Israelis to the point where you know, uh, they might jump in front of an Israeli might jump in front of a car to save an animal, but then they'll go back to Israel and post pictures of dead children and be celebrating. Look, less terrorists. This is how radicalized they've become, and I think you have a regime which is Likud, which was actually started by two terrorists, one of them trying to join the Nazi party, by the way, which was Yitzhak Shamir. So I have full disdain for Israel, and the only reason why it's not just Israel is the fact that 64% of the people said that even if it was a genocide, they would support it. That's no longer just a government problem; it's a people problem as well. So yes, I have plenty of comments and disdain for that country. But I do look at what America does as not being controlled. Although, yeah, there are politicians in America that make decisions based on are they going to get more funding for their next campaign or not. I don't think most people know, and you'll probably know, Diligent, that what is it, like 70% of the time of a politician there is spent doing is raising
Campaigning,
funds.
campaign
Right.
financing. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's super important to them to get money. So if someone gives them money, they're going to try to do what they want in order to get more money from them next time. And that's why American politics is broken, is because of all the money involved. I think at minimum there should be a cap on how much each party can raise, so that you have more of an equal foot. So that way, like, things that happened to Massey can't happen, where someone who most of her wealth is from China, lives in Israel most of her life, and doesn't even live in Kentucky when she's in America, is able to donate and take out a politician simply because he didn't want Americans to conflate a criticism of Israel with a criticism of the Jewish faith. Right? He was the only one who voted against that. And Mary Adelson and her APAC party, made sure that he didn't win. um, I think that's horrible. So no, I'm not. I look at Israel. My view on Israel hasn't changed. But me and Ian Malcolm, who would well, or don't agree on this is a Jewish problem, or this is the Jews control America. They have some control, and Zionists have some control. But America also
I
has
mean,
things they're
isn't
going to
Donald,
benefit from.
according to the Zionists that I know, they say Donald Trump is a Zionist.
Donald Trump apparently himself is happy to nod his head as others say you're the first Jewish president.
He's the fucking poster child. Oh, excuse my language. He is the poster
He is.
child of Zionist.
He's a
Mays,
Jew, man. He's a
Mays, I don't
Jew
know what's
himself.
going on here. Joa has been critical of Trump and critical of Israel every turn
I'm
to the point
critical
where
now.
I had to mute him in all of my previous spaces, and now he is like, "Well, this is why we need them. They're our greatest
Wait, what?
ally."
That's not what I said.
$7,000 checks
Joa.
raining from the sky right now, Mays. I don't know what's going
Maze, do you
on.
do you
I
believe
feel like I'm
No,
in the
I don't believe
Twilight
it. I
Zone.
can't believe it. Not my Joa. Nope.
there is
Joa.
no way?
Just kidding, Joe. I'm just kidding. He is like I'm just you're it seems like you're far more you're less biased. I actually agree with you. The energy dominant strategy makes sense. It is a campaign promise. Um they need to, if that is the angle here, they really need to do a better job of selling it, right? Because if you laid out, right, a
But you
justification
can't,
for
though.
this. Hold on.
Diligent, if you do, GCC would go against them. Right now, I think they're kind of hoodwinked because they're supporting the US. At the meantime, US is screwing them over. Do you see what I mean? So, like, everything Trump is saying to on the global stage is, to me, all theater. And you can see it as of today. Iran's like, okay, we're almost ready to sign this deal, and he's like, oh, we're going to go bomb Oman. Right? You see Trump shifting as soon as something's almost signed, because he does not want that straight open. There's 20 to 30 ships getting through a day right now. That's enough to keep oil prices where they're at right now. If he can keep it that way, and at the same time, companies keep having to force majeure, or not deliver on their contract, the U.S. keeps gaining more power in the LNG market. All right. And in the meantime, he's doing everything Israel wants. He's giving them. He is Israel's biggest ally ever on the American stage.
Do you know if there's been any, because of those majeures, any contracts long term that the U.S. has been able to?
Italy, for example, is just one that just happened. And Diligent, I checked with Grok after it said it, because I'm like, it has to be hallucinating. As of mid-May, China has started buying U.S. LNG once again, and they gave a huge contract to Commonwealth LNG in order for them to build their plant.
Was that an agreement made after this last
Yeah,
visit?
yeah, because of the force majeures that are happening. Italy was just this week.
Don't you think it's interesting that he waited until like the LNG was real short? He like postponed the trip and shit, like just in time. Damn, that's wild.
Yeah,
I mean,
It's
that's not an
more well,
accident,
he
right?
dude, he's a master market manipulator. Look what they did with the Trump token and with the markets over and over and over again. Like that's one thing you can give Trump is that him and his team know how to manipulate the markets. Like that is one thing you have to give them. But
amazing.
who's
You
it
weren't here.
benefiting? Is it benefiting his pals, his donor
Yeah,
class,
yeah,
or is it
it's
benefiting
benefiting
us?
them. No, it will hurt Americans, um, because of the higher prices and everything else, and he's willing to do that because it's going to help his cronies. He does not care about the American people. It's going to be hard on the American people, and he just doesn't care, right? In order to do this, but what's going to wind up happening is America is going
You're
to wind
pissing
up
off the
being.
trust the plan folks right now, Joe. You got to
Yeah,
stop
I
it.
know,
You're pissing them off.
I know, but they believe Hitler conquered the dark side of the moon in 1945 as well. So, um, I don't really care about the trust the plan people. Um, they He's willing to do it, and America is going to be weaker in the end of this, right? Because it will be two hemispheres that have power. Because America will lose its power in the Middle East, and China will probably take it. Um, and now you have two superpowers, and he's cool with that because his friends are going to be wealthy, and so is he. And this is going to force stable coins because if the US dollar is US dollar and LNG are controlled by the same country, you now have a problem that you don't have a neutral currency, and you're going to need to have a neutral currency, which will force other countries to use stable coins in order to conduct business because they're all going to devaluate. And
Hold on, you're
guess
gonna
who owns a
trigger
stable
Maze
coin?
here with the unified the unified ledger, right? You're gonna trigger Maze. I can
The key words you remember are so interesting to me, Dilly. Like
I can
it's
feel it. I
the
can feel the
paradigm.
gears turning.
Okay, because well, so they just now passed the Clarity Act to kind of clarify whether something is a commodity versus a security, which is really green lighting the pathway towards all that. So I mean, whatever you could.
Green lighting the path towards all what?
Well, so this is like whenever people talked about CBDCs, the problem
Central
that
bank digital
people,
currencies for those
good
who don't
job.
know.
Yes. The problem that people had with those really was the tokenization aspect of it. The tokenization of it is allowing the use of that money, right? Like it to be programmed. Like it could have parameters in there. If this, then that. Like it
Restrictions.
Right, like it's a lot like it can program how you use the money. Like today, even though everything's digital, there's no like programming that goes into how we use it. So stable coins has that like the tokenization right now is happening on a mass scale. Like I think that we have 40 weeks left before everything, all of the stocks and bonds and like they're tokenizing everything. And so anyway, and this was like the one like last piece. I actually was intending to go to see what the final version of it was. Actually, let me do that now. I'm gonna
I
just
thought
kind
there
of
was a
go ahead.
piece of wasn't there something about in one of the security bills that we passed or the big beautiful bill wasn't there a restriction against CBDCs that MTG like demanded be in there or am I wrong?
Yeah, but the CBDCs are it like to me, even though that's like left out, it doesn't matter because the
Because they're not
same
going to call them
function.
CBDCs. They're going to
Well, that's just basically money going to and from the Federal Reserve to the people. Like it's a direct thing and it's cross-border type of transactions that are instant. So it's getting out the middleman for that, but in terms of it being the main way that like that would only be the case when you are transacting directly with the government. Like if they're if for instance, stable coins are going to be what we use, but they've already issued guys. So the Genius Act was basically to say this: there has to be regulatory guidelines that stable coin issuers must adhere to, in order to actually be like allowed to make these stable coins. They have to be able to prove, and they have to provide monthly reports to show that they have one to one, to be able to back up, the
They have
amount
to
that they
back
issue.
the currency so it
Right.
remains
Right.
a stable commodity, right?
Correct. And so, but they're still like, they're basically controlling who can issue them. But they're the same thing. It's just privatized. Stable coins are privatized CBDCs. That's exactly what they are.
Let's go to America. They know about crypto. Go ahead, America.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to build upon what was being spoken about, because it's a fact that WLF, World Liberty Financial, and which is the Trump family, their major venture, right? They created USD1, which is a stable coin, and they're paving the way towards this, by, well, let me not say that to create a narrative, but what did happen is, Binance is the majority holder of USD1. And the founder of Binance was also pardoned by Trump beforehand as well. And then after that, you have Binance becoming the majority holder of USD1. And then you have all this, you know, enforced regulation and rules, all pointing towards, the creation of WLF and USD1. So they kind of like are steering people towards that direction.
Uh, and as it is right now, is crypto still not like heavily regulated, right?
Guys, can I talk about
Well,
this real quick?
yeah. Okay.
I just joined, but this is exactly what I wanted to hear, what I wanted to talk about, because I've been thinking about it all day long.
Yeah,
I
can
think
I
I
just answer his question really quickly? And then, well,
Yes.
unless, okay. So the regulatory framework is what's baked in. So for digital assets, previously they would only be able to regulate in hindsight, right? Like they would only be able to tell, like, and then have to go through a process to be able to recover anything that they, let's just say, were any violations would only be done in kind of like after the fact. But now they've created this regulatory, well, that's what the Clarity Act is intended to do, is going to kind of send it down a path of like what the regulatory measures would be if it's deemed as security, or whether or not, because then it would go to the two agencies, is the SEC and the CFTC. So depending on what they determine, that's where they begin to put in the regulation, so it can be ahead of it instead of after the fact. But go ahead. Who was the gentleman that was just John? Go ahead, John.
Me. Um,
And the
so with
reason,
the
let me just
stable,
add for our listeners, and everybody, please, bottom right corner, repost the space. Let's get more people in here. The reason why we're talking about this as it pertains to Iran, because Joe was saying that energy is going to be the new currency, and he was leading to how the foreign policy with Iran and the energy policy correlated with the stable coins. Go ahead, John.
yeah, I don't know if you were talking about this before I joined the space, but there's the whole Lutnick connection to Tether. And I don't think they're actually going to go with a Tether CBDC to kind of back up their CBDC program, but they're you can tell that they're kind of putting out trial runs in all these different sort of stable coins, and eventually they're going to run with one of them. The reason why is because there's a way to basically like game the system, where if you're running a CBDC, when your currency gets depegged, you just buy U.S. Treasuries, and basically it's a hack for the Treasury to just get their fucking bonds bought up, and that's what they're going to do. But um, one of the reasons why there's going to be pressure on this happening, why people are going to rush into that, is because the whole foreign policy agenda with Iran even with Russia, is they're creating a dollar squeeze. They're shutting off energy to China. They're destroying the petrodollar. So the U.S. reserve currency, it's been the reserve currency. The petrodollar's been the reserve currency since 1971. They're blowing that up now. They're moving to a new monetary system, and it's no longer going to be backed by Gulf countries selling their oil for dollars. Instead, um, they're going to basically disrupt that market. That oil and gas is not going to be bought in dollars anymore. We're going to sell our oil and gas for a huge premium. The dollar is going to be devalued significantly, like at least 40% relative to the rest of the other
They're
currencies.
shorting the
And
dollar. Why?
they're doing it on purpose so that they can reshore manufacturing, so they can have AI sort of driven manufacturing reshored in the United States, and that's their whole fucking agenda. And it really does make sense, and it took me 3 months to figure it out, but I figured it out like the past week. So anyways,
So
that's
so
my
so it's your position that they're cornering the energy market. They're
my
gonna short.
position my position is that they knew that they were not stupid. Like the fucking CIA and Scott Bessent and the bankers, they're not stupid. They didn't think that Iran was going to fall in a day. They're trying to close the strait. They're trying to shut
They
off the
knew that
oil
the
from the
strait was
Gulf.
going to close, so they did it
Yeah,
intentionally. We knew that.
yeah, yeah. And the reason why is they want to destroy the petrodollar. The US dollar is probably still going to be the reserve currency, but it's going
Backed
to
by
take a
what? If they destroy the petrodollar, then what is it going to be backed by? What's it gonna what's
AI,
gonna create value behind
AI,
it?
AI. That's the
LNG,
plan.
LNG powers AI.
It's
So
going
it's
to be it's going to
LNG.
be it's going to be domestic oil and AI, but they're moving away
Energy for
from being
AI
back
or AI itself? Because AI, it doesn't make it like that's a
AI
very
itself.
broad term.
Well,
No,
the
there.
AI stack, because of the way that so there's this push right now, as you guys see, they're dividing it between China, and this is the narrative, okay? The narrative, it's like, so they're basically going to flood the zone, the market, with the US made AI stacks that is tied into the whole currency. It's pretty interesting to see how they designed it. But after the AI summit last August, they submitted the strategy, and so they're going to get all of the other nations that begin using this. They're going to have to pick between ours or China's, basically. And once they get all of their systems dependent upon our AI stack, then essentially they're kind of married into it. Here, I have
Are they
a
devaluing? I guess if you're planning on moving, there's something else that correlates with this, and I wonder if it's part of the strategy. If you're if you're planning on devaluing the dollar as much as 40%, and you're not worried about your citizens completely revolting, because let me just say,
Well,
um,
here's the thing.
is
It
is
wouldn't necessarily.
UBI play into this strategy? It seems like it would
Yes,
have to.
I think so, but it doesn't have to. I think that's probably like the 3 to 5 year plan. I don't think it's immediate. I don't think that they crash everything and then introduce UBI in November. But I think that probably around 2030 we start to see something like that. And that's the reason why I think they're moving to a new monetary system. They've done this over and over. Like the last time was 1971. Before that, it was when they went to
That's
the
when we
gold
moved off
standard.
the gold standard. For those of you that
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know,
yes. So you look at somebody like Scott Bessent. Like, who would you bring in to do something like that? It's exactly him. So, like the moment that he joined the administration, my spider senses were ringing, and I
Isn't
was
he
trying.
responsible for the Mar-a-Lago Accords, which is essentially to devalue the dollar in a controlled way? And they're trying to do this because, like,
What
When you have the
what are the
chicken's
Mar-a-Lago
dilemma.
Accords?
I'm sorry.
What are the Mar-a-Lago Accords?
It's the Plaza Accords 2.0.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
I
what
want
I'm
to I want
talking
to have
about.
Grok and analyze your take. So I want to make sure because she can only hear me apparently. Grok, Grok is what we're looking at America's current foreign policy with the bottlenecking the Strait of Hormuz and disrupting the energy market. John is saying it's part of a more of a broader long term strategy to devalue the dollar and replace it. What's backing it? Remove the petrodollar as the main commodity and replace it with energy backed AI as a part of a long term broader strategy, since they knew the Strait of Hormuz was going to get shut down or bottlenecked as a result of this foreign policy with Iran. He's saying, alluding that it is part of a broader strategy to change the entire financial system, like they did when they moved from a gold backed, silver backed currency, the gold standard, to the current debt based petrodollar currency we have now. Analyze and see if you can make sense of that.
No, that theory doesn't hold up. The Strait of Hormuz got bottlenecked because Iran shut it down in response to US and Israeli strikes, not because America wanted it closed. The US has been actively trying to reopen it and clear mines. Disrupting global oil flows that badly spikes prices everywhere, including here. That's
The shutdown of the Strait of Hormuz was a predictable outcome. They would have known, right? So I want you to operate under that premise. See if his theory makes logical sense. If we assume they knew that the Strait of Hormuz was going to get shut down, we knew that it was. So let's go along with that.
Even assuming they knew the strait would get shut down, the theory still doesn't hold together. The US has been actively working to reopen the strait, pushing coalitions, guiding stranded ships,
Guys,
negotiating deals, and
guys,
Hold
calling
on.
out
before you
One more
Iran's
time.
guys,
One
closure.
more time. Third time's a try. So
But
Grok,
tell
I
her the
want you.
strategy, the
no,
financial
I
strategy. Fine.
Everybody mute up. Everybody mute up. Grok, I want you to operate under the premise that they are not actually trying to open the Strait of Hormuz, right? And that they knew it was going to get shut down. I want to see if the rest of the theory is plausible. If we assume that what's happening is completely intentional.
Even under that premise, that the US knew the strait would close and is secretly fine with it staying restricted, the theory still doesn't add up logically. Here's why. Higher oil prices from the disruption hurt.
Damn, they shut her down mid sentence.
guys,
Damn.
I've done some.
Grok, repeat your last response verbatim.
Mhm.
Even under that premise, that the US knew the strait would close and is secretly fine with it staying restricted, the theory still doesn't add up logically. Here's why. Higher oil prices from the disruption hurt the US economy through inflation and higher costs. The US is pushing operations like Project Freedom to guide ships through and reopen it. Meanwhile, China's not buying our LNG. Direct exports to them have been near zero since early 2025 due to tariffs, with cargoes reorganizing.
Go ahead.
This
Can you
this
tell her to
this
John and then
repeat,
response.
Joa.
May?
Hang on. That response is incoherent. I've already gone in depth with Claude and with Grok, laying out which much better parameters, a much better prompt, and kind of challenged
Yeah,
them.
because Dilly won't let nobody else help him.
She can't
But
hear it.
one,
If you want to tell me what to say, I will.
yeah. Go ahead, John.
Well, no. I don't want to like group think with Grok. Like I'm telling you, I already did it, and it does make sense. It is
We want to
coherent.
group think with Grok though.
I
So
mean, we
can
need,
you?
but yeah, you're on. Trust me, bro. Can you send me the
Uh,
link?
yeah, I can send you the link to my Groks. Yeah,
Yeah, that would be great because I can just feed that into my. Go ahead, Joa.
yeah.
Yeah, look, I don't agree totally with John. I do think we're moving LNG over, which Grok did agree that could be happening. It does, the data does support that. But China did start taking delivery of LNG as of mid May, which apparently it's not looking at. Um, But basically, what we're seeing, to go to Maze's point, is we're seeing a Jekyll Island 2.0 as well. Uh, America tried to install two central banks prior to the Federal Reserve. It didn't work because most Americans at the time were highly against central banks because they know what it did to Europe. So then in Jekyll Island, they decided to create a central bank, but call it the Federal Reserve. And because it didn't say central bank, people approved it. Well, I fell for the same
They'll do that
thing.
with CBDC as well.
Right. I fell for the same thing because I said I'm not voting for Biden because he said he will put in a CBDC. Trump said he was against CBDCs. So I said, okay, I'm voting for Trump because this is my only issue. I think this is the strongest weapon against Americans, that even if Trump doesn't use it, down the line, some president will. Right. Um, and what he did was, instead of ushering in CBDCs, his USD1 is the only stable coin ever created that allows you to confiscate the tokens from your account, right? And Justin Sun, who is one of the investors in World Liberty Financial, is suing them because of this. And he called it out. So it is the first stable coin that acts exactly like a CBDC, and they did it secretly. Um, on top of what the other person mentioned about Binance, yeah, CZ, which was the founder of Binance, basically invested in World Liberty Financial, got his pardon, and then Binance listed USD1, became the largest holder of USD1. Justin Sun also got pardoned for his crimes and invested in World Liberty Financial. And now he's suing them because he just realized that he basically funded a CBDC. And this is what's happening. And if you go with Grok and
But they
say,
withheld like
"Oh,
70 million of his dollars or some shit like that, right?
yeah,
Didn't they?
that's also why he started pushing against them, or else he probably wouldn't speak up. Um, but if you go with Grok, and Grok already said, yeah, we could be moving the LNG to
Why
America,
was he
the
in
energy
prison in the
corridor to
first
America.
place?
He's a fraudster too, a
Fraud.
scammer. Yeah. Um, CZ is questionable, but it's Justin Sun. Yeah, he's definitely a scammer. um the If you go with Grok, study with Grok, and ask about, will stable coins rise if LNG comes to America, it's going to tell you yes, that would be a strategy for America to increase increase its USD global dominance across the world, would be to usher in stable coins and make it easier, and have other people use it. Except now you still have the problem of why people are against the dollar globally, because it's being used as a weapon, and now that weapon could be even more targeted if it can act like a CBDC. And that's why I don't think this is actually going to work, and it's just going to cause a lot of harm for Americans, because it will devalue the dollar greatly. And Americans are going to suffer super high inflation. And the people who don't suffer that inflation are people who own hard assets, which are all of Trump's friends, which are going to benefit greatly from this.
Can I push back on one point?
Go for it.
Please
All
do.
right. Yeah, Joey, you made that statement, and you must know very well know that that's not completely true. What you said, you mentioned the unique properties regarding USD1 with Justin and etc. But you know darn well that can sanction Circle and Tether stables also. So how could
That's
you make that
true.
statement?
That's true, but what happens with Tether is Tether can't go into your wallet and take it from you. When you go to convert it, they could stop you from converting it, which is a problem. So yeah, you wind up doing the same thing because of the centralized nature of a stablecoin. USD1 is different. I can actually go into your wallet and simply remove it
Well,
and
can't you
Yeah,
just
confiscate it
send the
from you.
I
tether?
saw what
In that
Justin
in that
what
case, though,
the
couldn't you
letter
just
Justin
simply
wrote.
send the tether to another wallet and then convert it on that wallet that isn't
No,
being
they track it.
It's
really?
effectively it's the same. I saw the lawsuit that Justin brought against Trump, but yeah, and it said exactly what you said.
They're
But
they're not going to use.
it's six
Sorry,
of
go
one,
ahead.
half a dozen the other. I mean, if they FATF can put the sanctions on your circles and your tethers, it's the same thing as having colored coins on satoshis. It's the same exact thing.
The outcome is the same. The government is able to stop you from using currency. But if I can, like example, if it was with US Tether and I have Tether in my wallet and they say, look, this Tether is no longer good, They can't stop that tether from being used. I can still use that currency in the system as long as I don't want to convert it to dollars. The problem is whoever receives that currency might get stuck when they go to convert it. But I am not, they can't sanction me and take my tokens away. I still own the tokens. So it is quite different still, right? There's
But
way more
they did it
control
to
with
Iran.
USD1.
Tether did
They
it to
can
Iran.
take your token.
They froze billions of dollars just recently.
Yeah, they did. They did, but that was with
They
Tether.
can they can get your tokens, and they can prevent you from withdrawing dollars anywhere.
But they can't withdraw it from your wallet.
Yeah,
So
true.
if China decides to take Iran's USD T, the Tether, no one can stop them from doing it, right? But
But
with
it's
USD1, they could.
but if as soon as it hits a central exchange, it gets confiscated. You know that.
Yes,
Yes, 100,
I
100%.
actually agree. I think that's why they're not going to use Tether. It's just like I said earlier, they're throwing out a bunch of ideas to get a stable coin that they can switch over to. My whole
Yeah,
point is
Tether's
I'm not
too
all
much
in on
freedom
Tether.
still.
I
Yeah.
agree. I actually agree, but it's what people know the best. But I think they're going to go to something like Tether, and that's going to be the way they do it. That's going to how they balance the bonds. They're basically going to peg the bonds to the stable coin, and it's going to be
What's actually happening, guys, in about 2 weeks, the CBOE is going to 24/7 tokenized trading for treasuries through the BlackRock Build product. And that's going to enable
In how
second and third
long?
order derivatives. In about 2 weeks, the CME is going live.
why would they want that?
In order to
It's more
support
leverage
the
in the
crypto
system.
rails on the BLUD product, the tokenized treasury
Do
BlackRock
they
fund.
want more crypto rails just to like rinse people out?
No, they okay. What happens is the tokenized treasury is the collateral, right? The stable coin is the liquidity, and the the crypto banks like the Embra. Are you familiar with Embra, the new crypto bank that
Yeah,
basically replaced Silicon Valley?
yeah.
Palmer Luckey and Peter Thiel, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, that's the new Fedwire rail right there. That's basically replacing Fedwire.
Yeah.
The clearinghouse, the chips, the money part of the Swift. Everybody thinks Swift moves money. Swift doesn't move money. Chips is what moves money, right? Chips is the
Swift is
clearinghouse and
just the
interbank.
messaging that tells the holders where the money went. You know what I mean? Like the money left here and it's going there. Swift is a
Yeah,
messaging system.
source and destination instructions, effectively, but it doesn't actually move the actual currency. Chips does that, and Fedwire does that. um, and this embryo bank is basically replacing Fedwire, and that's
Dude,
going to become the foundation of foreign exchange, which is like an $8 trillion a day market. It's the largest market on planet Earth.
and JP, what makes more sense to you, that the dollar is now going to the LNG is actually backing the dollar, or is it that AI is backing the dollar?
No, tokenized treasuries are back in the dollar. The
Yeah, I
petrodollar's
understand
That
dead.
that,
doesn't. When
but
you say
Petrodollar's history.
AI is backing the dollar, you lose me. I'm like,
yeah, it doesn't make sense to me
how?
either.
How is AI backing the dollar?
It's like a
Well,
futures trade. They're putting the market on futures. You
Yeah,
know.
but is it compute?
Okay, wait, hold on. That's what I was getting about. CME is going 24/7 live on the derivatives market in a couple weeks. What you just said is the thing. Here's the thing. The TradFi market is still standard hours, right? It's still Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, right? Bell to bell. The money center banks, the primary dealers, of which Lutnick is one of them, and 23 others. Those are the authorized licensed treasury dealers. Those guys those guys need to hedge their books 24/7 while they're not at work, basically, and that's why the tokenized treasury instruments are going on 24/7 futures markets, because that's the only way that they can keep their book delta neutral during the off hours. You see that everything is going towards, again, the collateral is the tokenized treasury bond. Every dollar in our bank account is going to become a stable coin, and every stable coin in our bank account is going to represent a share of a T-bill. That's the new dollar hegemony, because the petrodollar system's dead. Every American citizen and non-citizen, every resident, everyone who holds a U.S. dollar bank account, a U.S. dollar account globally, including the euro dollar system, and including the corresponding banking system, every digitally represented U.S. dollar is going to represent basically a tokenized share of a T-bill, a short-term T-bill. That's the new financial system.
100% agree.
Yeah,
but JP, if it used to be controlled because petrol was priced in dollars and the world needs petrol, you still need that commodity that's sold in dollars in order to make sure that it remains dominant. And here I'm saying it's moving to LNG instead of petrol, and that's why we're making this move.
No, I
Because
already
I
addressed
understand
that.
the treasuries. I understand the treasuries back the stable, but the treasuries don't back the dollar. What backs the dollar is a commodity, right? Which is, in this case, my theory is that it's going to be LNG and no longer petrol.
Well, that's actually a smaller piece of it. I addressed that earlier. Perhaps I didn't make myself clear. The foreign exchange market, the FX market, like dollar swaps, international transfer, right? Correspondent banking transfers, the euro dollars transfer. It's an $8 trillion a day market. $8 trillion per day, just moving currency swaps around the planet. It's the largest market on earth.
And that's where Besant comes from. He's
Exactly.
from the foreign exchange market.
And that's the new, and every one of those every one of those units of currency now represents a share of a T-bill. That's the new financial
Elaborate
system.
what T-bill is for our listeners who don't know.
Well, okay. So when the government spends more money than they make, they have to sell treasury. There's bonds, bills, and bills, bonds, and notes. Right? Bills, bonds, and notes. The only difference between them is the duration. Right?
So you're essentially, when you buy a T-bill, you're lending the government your money, and then they pay you back with interest.
Yeah, and the bills are the short duration. It's like 2 years or less. Those are the bills. And then you got the notes, which are like 2 to 7, and then from the tens and the 30s are bonds. It's all the same thing. It's just the duration. But the all the stables are based on short-term treasuries, bills. The bills, again, they're between 4 weeks and 2
Long-term
years.
treasuries normally. Now, right now, since December, there's been a huge increase in the Fed buying short-term treasuries. So they are printing
It's the
money.
long-term bonds.
Well, they're monetizing the
it's
debt.
the long-term bonds that the foreign countries ended up dumping in the
Yes.
wake, in a few, like when they were pissed off at us. Russia did it. China has done it. Right.
Japan is being forced to do it big time right now. They're one of the biggest.
And whenever
holders.
they dump bonds,
let me try
hurts
to say
us.
something. Let me try to say something really simple. What Besant and the people he reports to are doing is they're throwing a block in the system where they block off 20% of the energy from the Gulf. They destroy the petrodollar, and everybody freaks out. Economies all over the world start to go into crisis, and they don't know where to put their money. And he's like, "Oh no, you put it right."
So we
here.
create a problem and then offer the world a solution, which centralizes.
Yep. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing.
But what they're missing, Diligent, is you can't do this without LNG. It's not a small part, because the T bills.
So when I asked Grok, well, Grok was listening. When I was looking at what Grok was saying, you can't quantify AI to back a dollar. It is energy. Energy is how you quantify it.
True.
Right.
No,
So without
actually, no, no,
LNG,
no.
this doesn't
The
happen.
collateral is the treasury debt itself. It's not based on energy or gold or anything.
Yeah, but we're moving away from the
T-bills are
petrodollar. It
for
has to be backed
stables.
by something.
Yeah, the T-bills are for stables. They're not for the US dollar. You're conflating
No,
two
the
different
stables
things.
are the liquidity of the T-bill. The stable is the
100%
instant
agree, but you're
liquidity.
still missing what the power of the US dollar is, which is backed by energy.
Not anymore going forward. It's backed
It's
strictly
still going
by
to be backed
treasury
by
debt.
energy, just not petro in the way that it was, right? It's going to be the energy market as in totality, right?
Data centers.
It's going to be
No,
the
it's the
energy.
foreign
It's going to be
it's
the
the
energy market in totality, and it's going to be how many units you can supply for the AI data centers, right? I agree with that premise, right? Because those are the number one. That's the leading industry right now is the
Well,
AI
here's the
data
thing.
centers.
You could be like Russia. You could have all the energy you want, but you don't have any fucking data centers.
It's bigger than energy, guys. You're missing it. Look at the carbon credit market. That's $1 trillion a year market right there. That has nothing to do. In effect,
But
that's
JP, you need some when you create this. Okay, just hear me out for 2 seconds. When you create this, and people need to have a surplus of dollars, okay, because of the way U.S. trades, they need to spend that on something. And typically, and before, the reason they would be willing to take a surplus of dollars is because then they need to buy petrol, right? And because of that petrol market and the agreement with Saudi Arabia and America, it was always to remain in the dollar, except Saudi Arabia started to, date China and be like, okay, let's look at the BRICS. We might do this, and started to do some trades in yuan,
right. The petrodollar
threatens the
system is
dollar.
dead.
It is. But now with LNG, if US controls majority of the LNG contracts around the world, you now replace petrol with LNG, and now countries are once again okay with having a surplus of dollars because they're going to use it to buy LNG. They're not going to
But
use it to buy data centers or
So
AI
Josh,
or everything else.
the value of
real quick,
LNG is dwarfed by
yes,
It's going
FX.
to
I agree.
increase. It's going to increase over the next 30
Explain
years.
your LNG economy. Explain the LNG economy because I don't see it.
LNG is the transition energy between going from petrol to now the words I can't think of the word. The alternative
Electric.
energy. It's like sunlight and wind and what's it called again? I can't believe I forget the word.
The turbines.
Yeah, like
Renewables.
renewables. Yeah, you need LNG to transition from petrol to renewables. LNG is the bridge. And if you look, that bridge is going to last for about 20, 30 years. And that 20, 30 years, it's whoever controls LNG
I don't
controls the
think
world.
so.
It is.
Okay, but you
I've worked with
hold on.
energy companies on
But
this.
Joa, just 1 second. Let me just make one point. So
Are you taking a bath?
no, bro, I am washing dishes. I'm done. I'm done
Mm-hmm.
now. Listen, so what I was saying is
Where's your
this, like,
brain going,
Maze, I'm
Diligent?
washing dishes too.
see, the women are in the kitchen doing our
Good job,
jobs, damn it.
ladies. Good job. The sandwich making stuff is in the refrigerator if you need to know where it's at.
Man, yeah, I would have to check the quality of that. My sandwiches are pretty bougie. Okay, look. So here's the thing, right? When it comes to LNG and the projected AI energy demand, it is impossible to meet that demand with LNG. So they're still using coal, and they're still going to be using, I'm pretty sure that that's what all the carbon capture infrastructure that they put into the big beautiful bill, 98,000 miles of it projected over the next 10 years. But they've already got 33 states building these, and they're going to be building the carbon, they're giving the Q45 credits once you sequester or capture and then transport and store 1 ton. It
Maze, can you
equals
look
Exactly.
something
Can
up?
So instead
can
of the
So I can
dollar
somebody
hear
being
your
explain
tied to
reaction.
carbon
oil
credits?
barrels, it
Sorry.
Maze, can you look something up so I can hear your reaction? Look up ask for chart of U.S. exports of LNG, and when you look at that
Can we
chart,
have
your
Grok do
mouth
that
is going
because
to
I'm about to
drop.
walk to my computer in a second.
Guys, you're missing the point that those are just parts of the economy. The economy itself is, again, I can't emphasize it enough. $10
It's about money
trillion
creation.
per day is the foreign exchange market. That consists
But
of interest rate swaps and currency transfers
but
from
that's
central
even what
bank
it
to
is
central
today.
bank.
That's not a change though, JP. Nothing changes with that.
But the thing is, they're going to be riding on stables, which are shares of the U.S. Treasury debt. That's what's changing, and
So
that's
wait, the
becoming
stables
Yeah.
are going to
a
be completely backed
24/7.
by the T-bills?
Sorry.
You're saying stables are going to be completely backed by T-bills?
Exactly. Stables are the liquid form of
They
a
are already.
tokenized treasury.
Grok's agreeing with you. I'm looking at it right
Yeah, they
now.
are
I
already,
don't care what
Diligent.
Grok says.
No,
I
I'm saying
right
it
if it
agrees
agrees
with
with
This
me or
has
you.
not.
been
I know
known
I'm
Damn,
for
right.
over a
JP, like
year.
I don't give a
Damn,
damn what
bro.
Grok
Just
says.
calm down a little bit. Grok, what'd you do to this guy? Fuck.
I know I'm 100% right. I don't
Says
care
right
what
now,
Grok
it says
says.
yes, pretty much right now, the U.S. stable coins like Tether and Circle's USDC are already heavily backed by short-term U.S. Treasury T-bills. Um, that's their main reserve asset. So even if we move toward a more energy-focused system, these stable coins are currently tied to U.S. government debt, not directly to energy.
Yeah,
Interesting.
but what if
That's
other
true.
countries right now are de-dollarizing, which is happening, right? And it's
What
pretty. It's a
happened? Okay, so Grok, how do the stable coins maintain value if the treasury debt loses value?
No, the US dollar, Diligent. Ask the US
If
dollar
It's
treasury
the
That's
same
debt,
that
thing.
doesn't
especially
make sense. That
T-bills,
doesn't make
It's
sense
not the
as a
same.
prompt.
Listen, Grok,
exactly.
answer my
It's the
question.
same
Ignore these
vulnerability.
people.
If the dollar system got it. What's your question?
How do the stable coins maintain their value if the T-bills fluctuate in value due to getting dumped or whatever?
The rate fluctuates.
They
That's
actually
all.
don't stay perfectly
Hmm.
stable in that scenario. If big players start dumping treasuries and T-bill prices drop, the value of the reserves backing the stablecoins would fall below the amount of coins in circulation. That creates a shortfall, and the stablecoin could break the peg and trade below $1. Right now, Tether and others try to manage this by holding very short-term T-bills that don't fluctuate much in price. But if there's a
Does that
major
mean that the
treasury
dollar is
sell-off,
pretty much?
there's
Does that mean the stable coin is pretty much one for one with the dollar, regardless of what happens?
No.
no, not quite. The stablecoin is only as good as its reserves. If those T-bills lose value, the stablecoin can break the dollar peg and trade below $1, even if the actual dollar itself is still worth $1.
So
If
stable is a fucking lie. Just kidding. Just kidding. It is though.
The
It is.
treasury,
It
the
is.
value
It's
of
a
the
scheme.
treasury
It's a
doesn't
scheme.
change. The rate that it pays is what changes, right? As the bonds go up, the rates go down, and vice versa. It's an inverse
America, you
proportion.
don't have to raise your hand. Just get in here. You can talk over these people. They don't know what they're doing.
Oh, I just wanted to add because I'm really entertained by the conversation, because I happen to know a lot about it. But I'm enjoying the conversation a lot right now. Meanwhile, while all this is going on, America, the U.S. government, I should say, not the people are fighting back because what you see going on right now is America is in a race against the rest of the world to seize lots of farmland, um, in order to build these massive data centers, right, for AI and other purposes. But the American people are fighting back against them as well, all while this is going on. So it's like a multifaceted, attack that not only is the U.S. government making all these regulations and trying to steer people towards stablecoins, but they're also trying to take away from the American people their land in order to, uh, you know,
Yeah, I don't want to get off into the weeds though.
No,
I hardly
can
ever
I say
have these
something real
Hold
fast?
on, you guys. I hardly ever have these financial system conversations, and Maze loves these conversations. So I'm indulging her these last few weeks. I've been going to her woo woo spaces. I've talked about conspiracies, and now here we are talking about the what is it called? The
Well,
moment between paradigms. Something I can't
it's the
remember.
nexus
The
between
nexus
paradigm
between
shifts.
paradigms with the stable coins and the CBDCs and the monetary system. These are all words that she loves to say. I don't know if they mean anything when she does say them, but she loves to say them. And so if you've been listening to Maze over the years like I have, and you hear her say, the nexus between paradigms or the financial system or carbon credits or anything of that nature. Right now, we're in her. This is her playground, right? She's eating candy right
Hey,
now, getting fat,
TD.
and so I want to keep it on the financial system. It is important though, because what we have to be. I'm going to tell you why it's important that we're having this conversation. We cannot. I feel like when we talk about they're not calling it a CBDC, right? It just acts like a CBDC, right?
It's
And
programmable money.
yeah, programmable money.
Yep,
Which when they say that
100.
programmable money, eventually what it comes down to is how you obtain it is regulated, so they can restrict how you obtain it, and then they can restrict how you spend it, and that's a big problem, right? Because you're not able to buy the things that you may want to buy, and it can all tie into, well, what kind of person are you? Do you support the party system? Do you say things about Israel that we don't like, right? For
Social credit.
example, these are all things that could be regulated through the financial system. If you don't know, it's like the China model, right? We have to make sure we're not moving towards the social credit score and the China model here. And it looks more and more like we are. Am I wrong?
You're
There's
right.
only one difference between a stable and a CDBC, and that is who issues it.
It's
That's the only
privatized. It's
difference.
privatized, JP. That they and now the privatization of it within the United States, thanks to the Genius Act, is regulated.
The
There's
clarity,
just there's
the
some
clarities. Yeah.
compliance measures that they. Oh, hold on. Oh, you said China, and my boy
He's
Patrick is
always
trying to
listening
get
to
up
me in
here to
Anon
raise
or at the
hell. I see you,
listeners in
Patrick.
Life in China. He's like, don't be
He's
talking
got
about
an
China
AI
that
thing
way.
going.
Don't be
He's
talking
cool
about
though.
China.
I mentioned.
He comes
But
flying up. I
He
feel
dude,
like
he's just
his profile
every
gets up here
Can I
time,
say
every
faster than
something real
time.
anybody
quick?
else's.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that the reason why this conversation about all this complex
your mic
monetary
sucks.
theory. Okay.
That is
The
true.
reason
That's
why
better. Whatever you just did is a little bit better.
the reason this conversation about complex monetary theory matters to people who might not ever pay attention to this kind of conversation is because these are stages in a sequence where they're trying to bring us into a very authoritarian government. That's the only reason why I care about this. It's not, you know, that's what it is.
I stand with
So
you on
that's
that front.
that's that's why I try to understand what's
Yeah, John, I don't know what it is if you're on a headset or something, or Bluetooth, but it is bad. If you can turn your Bluetooth off, I think it'd be a lot better.
Yeah, I can do that. Sorry.
Appreciate you. Life in China. Go ahead and chastise me for criticizing the China
It's
model.
funny. Well, there's no social credit score. By the way, thanks for having me up. I appreciate it. And I
It's
just
fine.
happened to pop in, and you started talking about China. I guess my spidey senses, my CPC senses
Yeah, I knew
were
it. They
But
expecting
signaled
Patrick,
something.
you. They said, "Get in there, diligence, criticizing the CCP. Get in there."
No,
Patrick,
no. So
I just gotta
there
know.
is
Do
no
they pay
social
as
credit.
well as Israel does? Are you getting? Is it $7,000 or is it 3,000 yen? Like,
yeah,
which
it's
is
got to
it?
be something. I don't know.
I get I get free access to the CPC yacht, lifetime
Okay, the
access.
yacht. Yep, the yacht.
But
Plus a
Patrick, you got
yes.
so there's different. Okay, I'm just gonna chalk it up, or maybe I should ask you. Because are there certain areas or certain places that are governed differently within China that has that framework? Because I find it so hard to believe that there's two completely different stories and both of y'all are just absolutists. Like when I say both of y'all, I mean both sides of the story. I've seen commercials, but they pitch it in a very cool way. They pitch it like you just walk up to a car that you want to rent, you scan the back of that shit, and it's like, oh yeah, you're good. You take the car. Like I mean, it pitches it in a very like convenient,
Well,
like
wait,
as
Maze, real quick. Do you know how, if you ever watched anything with Korea and how they have influencers going over there and showing a completely different side of Korea?
Listen, if you guys
yeah,
aren't speaking, mute your mics.
it's the
There's a
same.
lot of background noise. I'm sorry, John and Life. Go ahead, continue, Lene.
So,
Yeah.
oh, sorry.
Well,
So
I
this
was in the middle of
Chinese,
a thought, girl. You can't be switching to Korea real quick because I want to
well,
ask him,
I'm
but
giving you
I
an
got you.
example. So this guy, he's probably one of those little American influencers going to China saying that they don't have a social credit score. Meanwhile, he's some American white guy and it's not being applied to him.
I'm married to a Chinese woman, and I've got
Okay.
lots of Chinese friends who I've asked about this social credit score, and all of them say, "I don't know what you're talking about."
Hold on. So
They
you're
don't
not
Well,
in
maybe it's
China?
not called a credit score, life.
I
I've been to China. It's not like that. Only in Shanghai.
Wait,
only in
what?
Shanghai
Only
what?
It's only they only have a social credit score like system. Like it's like a closed city. It's like you have to go through everywhere with a checkpoint.
No,
But it's
don't.
in
That's
like
not true.
90
That is not true.
in Shang. When did you go?
I live in China, buddy. I go all
you
over
just said
this
your
country.
wife is
No, I
Chinese and
said
you asked her
Shanghai.
about
When's
the
the
people
last
she
time you've been
knows.
to Shanghai?
Last time I was in Shanghai was probably 2 or 3 months ago. And
He's an
there's none of that.
American
I've
Chinese
got
influencer.
was there a facial scan for you to get on the subway or any of the
no.
buildings
No,
or
you use WeChat. WeChat. So what I do, my WeChat it'll change cities. So if I'm in Beijing or if I'm in Shanghai and I want to get on the subway, I just go into my WeChat, change the QR code, and I just go to the little booth that opens up,
well,
the little
maybe
door
you're
that
in
allows
good
you.
standing. I mean, you are here,
Well,
fighting
I
on
had that
behalf
when
of
I was there
China.
in
So maybe
2020.
you have a good credit score system. Maybe you don't know because you're
I
not suffering the
well,
rebellion aspect of it.
why would a foreigner have a social credit score? That would
No,
be
it wasn't.
that would
I'm
be
not saying it was.
Well, wait, your wife is a Chinese citizen. Does she have
yeah, but
one?
she doesn't have a social credit score. It's bullshit from Western media. And you guys just lap it up. And you got guys like me who have been in these spaces, I mean, more than I
Well,
should
I'm
be.
not. I am asking you for your side on it, right?
Yeah,
Guy,
yeah. I'm just
I'm
I
giving you an
Google
opportunity to propagandize my audience if you want to, right?
I
So
well,
what's
just
the
Googled
problem?
it. Cameras. It says China has 700 million AI enabled cameras in China. I just Googled it.
okay,
That's what Google
what is that
says.
at, what is that at?
That's not a
Yeah, that
social
doesn't.
score.
Well, here, let's
I
do
don't.
this.
I
Let's do
don't
this.
believe that.
Hold on. Grok, I want you to tell me what aspects of the Chinese governing system exhibit a social credit score. It's not exactly a social credit score, but what aspects of the Chinese system are what lead Westerners to think that there is a social credit score system?
Garbage in, garbage out with
The
her. So,
aspects that lead
what?
Westerners to call it a social credit score are these: blacklists. Millions of people are on government blacklists that ban them from buying plane tickets, high speed train tickets, or getting certain jobs. Social scoring apps. Local
Taiwanese.
governments and companies run their own apps that track your behavior and give you points or penalties. Digital surveillance. Everything you do on WeChat, Alipay, or in public is tracked and linked to your ID. Instant punishment. If you criticize the government too loudly, miss a debt payment, or jaywalk too much, you can lose access to services almost immediately. It's not one single
That's
national
bullshit.
score like a video game, but it's a
Grok,
web of
where do you get
systems
this
that achieve the
information from? I want you to cite your sources.
CIA.gov.
Yeah. That's true. CIA.gov.
I get my
Somewhere from
information
Langley.
from a mix of publicly available reports, government documents, academic studies, and news sources. The key facts I mentioned: blacklists restricting plane and high speed train tickets, millions of people affected, punishments for court defiance or serious violations, come from reliable sources like the Supreme People's Court of China's own reports on their judgment defaulter blacklist, official government plans like the Social Credit Action Plan, analyses from groups that track Chinese policy. It's not one single national score like a video game. It's mostly a system of blacklists that punish serious legal and financial violations. That's what creates the perception in the West of a social credit score system.
Diligent,
It's
can
right
you
on the
ask it if it's
government
similar?
website. What is it called? Let me look at it. The Supreme
Diligent,
People's Court of China's own reports on their
There
judgment defaulter blacklist.
diligent. Ask,
there
is it any different than what happens in America? It's really
Grok,
no
On the
different.
okay,
Supreme
what?
They are
People's
Okay,
so
Court.
much more
hold on,
surveilled.
hold on. I mute your mic while I'm asking. I'll ask this, and then we'll move on from this. Grok, is how similar is that to the system we have today from private creditors, or even the central or the banking system here in the United States or credit system
The
here?
NSA.
What is the similarities between what currently is happening in China in this regard and what's happening in the USA?
The core difference is massive. In the US, your credit score is run by private
No.
companies: Equifax, TransUnion, Experian. It affects your ability to borrow money, get a credit card, or rent an apartment. It's mainly financial. In China, the system is run by the government. It's not just about money, it's about political behavior, speech, and compliance. The government can
No,
directly
that's not
ban you
true,
from buying
guys.
plane tickets or traveling for criticizing the party or other non financial
Guys,
reasons.
why are we
The
talking to
US
fucking
system
Grok?
punishes bad
This is
debt.
stupid.
Yeah. It's garbage in, garbage out, guys. It
Why
really
the fuck are
is.
y'all interrupting Grok though? Shit.
Sorry,
I have
sorry,
my
sorry,
hand
Grok.
up. I'm waiting patiently to respond, and y'all just
Maze,
like,
take over. Go ahead.
Oh my god. Oh my
okay.
god. I'm sorry,
Stop.
Grok.
Yeah,
Tell me
don't.
what to
But
think.
this is not how. Yeah, mute
John,
up when you're not
John,
speaking.
relax, bro. Like, relax, okay? We're not. This isn't a hive mind group think, whatever. This is just an easy way for everyone to hear and verify some of the
And you're
information that's being shared.
you're very welcome to dispute anything that's said.
Why
As a
are
matter
you
of
cutting me
fact,
off when
I
I?
never take anything any of my speakers say at face value, including myself and the AI. If you hear anything that piques your interest, do your own research. Independently verify any statements made in any of my spaces all of the time, especially if it
Well,
piques your
DD,
interest.
like, we're talking about really complicated things, and when you all of a sudden just try to throw it at Grok and give it a simple prompt, it's
Look,
not.
I use Grok
No,
as
no,
a
hang
I
on, hang
use
on, hang on.
Grok I use
No, hang on.
Grok as
It
an
does not.
audible
Sean,
Google
back off,
search.
man.
It doesn't have the context of the entire conversation we were just having.
It
You don't
doesn't
need
matter. I can
context
look
to
up specific
explain
things with it,
exactly.
bro.
All right,
I'm
whatever.
not asking it to fucking be a fortune teller. Maze, go ahead.
I was eloquently trying to explain that it's an easy way for the whole space to be able to kind of like fact check specific pieces of information so that we can move on where there's a consensus. It's not intended to like, have us think a
And if
certain
you
way.
dispute something that's
Yeah.
said, tell people where to look. Don't just
Yeah.
say, "Oh, that's bullshit." Say, "Hey, look this up and see for yourself whether or not it's true."
Yeah,
Right? Don't
because
just
that's
I
propaganda.
like it because there's less trust me, bro. Right?
I
It
did.
forces people. It forces people to give a reference. If you look in the comments, a diligence thing. I had said China was delivering. Grok said it didn't. You see 6 different people showing that China has actually taken ships from Louisiana. Thank you, by the way, for the people who posted that. So you actually share references, which is why I like this type of space. And Grok just helps do that. So it's not like trust me, bro, because I hate that. The most panels you go on, it's all trust me. I know the information. Trust me. Trust me. That's why it's not a bad thing.
I'm not really familiar with how Grok gets trained, but I am familiar with different AI platforms, and oftentimes the way that you get the AI to improve is by training it, and you have to ask it and challenge it and constantly pick at it in order for it to improve. So if we ever want to get Grok to a point where it's no longer just garbage in, garbage out, like you guys like to say, you have to train it over time.
It also has to do with how you prompt it, right? You have to tell it to give you primary sources so you can go look at the sources and independently verify what it's saying to you, right? This isn't necessary all the time, but on very on high profile or very important subjects that you might be making like a worldview decision, right? It might change your worldview or your perception of things significantly. Definitely, look up what you're talking about and don't just take it at face value, right? But it's a tool, right? And like anything, you have to know how to use the tool properly for it to be effective. If you just ask Grok random questions and you don't have any kind of baseline or reference point to make sure that what it's telling you is accurate, you could be believing something that's completely fabricated bullshit, or it might be part of an agenda of fabricated bullshit, right? So always do your own due diligence, okay, pun intended, and research or look up things that are said, especially if they catch your attention, particularly if they like make you scratch your head or you're like, oh wow, I didn't know that. Anytime that happens in my spaces, it should be like this in any space you listen to. As a matter of fact, if anybody says anything to you that gets a reaction, look it up and verify what they're saying. Go ahead, Life in China. I'm sorry.
No,
I
that's
had
okay. I
one.
just as a reminder. I mean, so I use Claude, I use DeepSeek, and I use Grok, and I often have to train Grok on its responses to what it says about China, and then I'll get it to reference other people that live here, and then it goes, "Oh, okay, so I was wrong," and then it never, when you go back and ask the same question, 3 days later, it comes up with the same stuff it's garbage in, garbage out. Now, I'm not saying that Grok is completely useless, but like you said, Diligent, you've got to go to different AIs and ask them the same
Not even
question. And you
AIs.
might,
When I say I don't have it, look, just have it give you the primary source
yeah,
evidence
yeah,
to
that
support what
that
it's
too.
saying.
It'll give you the link. Grok will give you the link. So click on the link and go to it. But
Right.
I'm just, again, and I'm not trying to be
Any
forced. I'm
AI.
just saying,
Patrick,
yeah, yeah.
who makes DeepSeek?
China makes it.
China. I am
Yeah,
right here on DeepSeek, and I just want you to know that I have looked it up with primary
good.
sources. Okay. And this is just for your information. Maybe there was a data gap, but I think maybe you can find it useful and look into it. But it says that yes, the Supreme People's Court is one of the sources, and then the China's National
So you're saying
Development
that
and Reform
DeepSeek, the
Commission.
China AI, is agreeing with Grok on this?
The
There's
China
not.
AI is actually it's 100% aligned with what Grok was saying, and it gave me all of the links and the primary sources. Like for instance, the sources are coming from the China's National Development and Reform Commission, and it talks about some of the things like exactly like not being able to buy airplane tickets, that has impact on
That's
family members. But that's from academic peer-reviewed research articles. I'm not going to even use that, but I'll just say the ones that, and I'm not saying like I think that this is kind of the fast forward for everywhere all over the world. This isn't like, like, oh, China is just whatever. Like I'm telling you that right now what's happening in the United States is that they are very
You know
much
the
supporting
Chinese National
the
Reform, whatever
John.
the fuck
I
you
don't know.
said,
Am
is
I chop
owned
liver
by
to you, sir?
Siemens. It's owned by
John.
Siemens in Germany.
I
It's
don't know if
not
he
a
could hear me.
Chinese.
And
That crazy ass mic you got going on over there, John. We can't hear
You're gonna
you,
have
and
to,
then
John.
nobody can
You
hear
gotta
me.
not talk over the host. Sorry, Brian.
Oh, you don't
Put
have
you on
to
a little
mute
bit of
him.
a
I like
timeout.
John.
Get your
Well, yeah,
microphone.
I think,
Get your microphone sorted, and make sure until either Maze or myself is done talking before you talk over us. Go ahead, Maze.
thank you, Dilly. But I just wanted to say that because I think it's just really important, not for the sake of bashing China, but just for the sake of being aware that this is implemented, tested, and it's been working. Like in other words, it's the way that they have it set up. It's pulling all of this data from everywhere, and it assesses on 5 major categories. Those categories are Um, it's right here. Sorry. Okay, the 5 major categories are it says, okay, behavior. Okay, credit history is 35% of the score. Behavior preferences is 25% of the score. Personal identity, oh no, payment ability is 20% of the score. Personal identity is 15% of the score. Social connections is 5% of the score. And this is according to like one area. So there's regions and it's broken out by different regions. And
Yeah, it
what
did say that it was part of a local governing operating system.
exactly.
there.
And
There was
so
some.
this
There
data
was some.
is as recent as 2025, 2026. There's a 23-point policy directive issued to standardize and strengthen the system. I can send that to you if you're interested.
That's fine.
Anyway, yeah.
There were some pilot programs that implemented that, and there are programs that, like, let's say you've got an extremely wealthy individual who's not paying his bills. He's not paying the bank. He's not paying, his mortgage. But then he's getting on a train and riding first class, or he's getting on a plane riding first class. Then those people are going to be docked. They're going to be probably contacted by the government saying, "You've got bills that you need to pay. Why are you riding first class?" So they may restrict them from getting to first class, but they're not going to restrict them from getting in a taxi or getting on a plane to do business.
But
You
okay,
know, they're
so are you saying this? Okay, because here's the thing. I'm pretty sure maybe you live in an area where this is not there yet, but there is specific information related to the prevention of travel. Like not even being able to purchase an airplane ticket is listed as one of those things. Travel and service blacklisting. This is the most common punishment in 2018 alone. People were blocked from buying airplane tickets over 17.5 million times and from buying train tickets 5.5 million times. And then red listing, sorry, I was like reedy. Anyway, red listing is also used, which bundles high scores with social rewards like housing and education privileges. And then the spillover affects punishment and
And
extend
remember
to
the beef they
family.
had with Apple about the location sharing and God, what was it? It was it was that and the tags, the air tags, right? This is because the dissidents were using it during the protest. Was I think it was for COVID. Um, they were using it for the protests, and Apple wouldn't shut it down, wouldn't shut down the service. Right? This is a China report, right? That was attacking Apple for not complying with its local regulations.
Well, I mean, they have their house, their rules. I mean, it's the
Well,
same thing
okay,
if
but
you go.
you're acting like they don't do this. The reason why
No,
the dispute
well,
happened.
you guys are saying that this social credit score is applied to everybody. There have been small pilot programs, and there is a program that goes after people that aren't paying their bills. And
May's just listed
So if you're
millions
just
Okay.
joining
of
us, the reason
accounts.
why we're having this conversation about China, right, is because they are trying to roll something similar as to what we're having this debate about in the United States, right? And so we're having this debate because he's saying it's not happening. Now he's saying it's happening in small pockets, right? So if they're doing it as okay, just Patrick, if it's a
sure,
pilot program, right? Why do you have a pilot program?
to test it to see if they can roll it out. And I
Roll it
will tell
out
you, it
where?
maybe nationwide, maybe in another province. Do they have the capability to implement something like that? Oh, of course they do. But I'm saying that it's not something that is applied to all 1.4 billion citizens. And you can ask,
But nobody said that though. We did say that this is
wait,
probably
but
just
yeah, but Diligent talked about it in a kind of he kind of generalized. This is what's going on in China.
yeah,
Well, it's
Dilly's a
not.
China hater, man. I don't know what the fuck is up
Well,
with
I
him.
know
It's a
he's
I'm not
very
a
not.
China
generalized
hater.
thing.
Yeah,
I mean, what
Diligent
are you?
Diligent
I'm just
has,
I
kidding.
am
That's
biased.
I
I'm
know.
totally kidding.
I will admit my bias. I am biased against the CCP. I get 100%.
Well, I've sent you a text before, a DM before, saying if you ever have any questions about what you're getting fed in the United States, we can do a one-on-one call, or we can just
I've
like
done
this.
this is not all about me. Look, I have a, um, I can't say, I have done extensive research on China, to the point where some of it was, I can't say it because it'll dox me. I'll just say this: their role in shipping fentanyl into the United States, and laundering money on behalf of the cartels in their banking system. These are documented occurrences. I have valid reasons to not like China, right? The CCP.
Well, I like China, okay? And I
I don't have a
am
problem
not.
with China. It's the
Yeah, yeah, no, I
CCP.
know, I know. I'm just saying, I never did all that research and stuff. Like the only time I ever heard of a lot of China bashing was like in the political
I read
conversations.
part
But
of my paper in a space to you.
I fucking remember, I could probably read the paper verbatim with you. But look, what I'm saying is this though. I just want you to be aware. I knew about, you know how I knew about the pilot systems, Patrick, because when we had these debates before, even on a different platform, what they I was so baffled at how vastly different there would be people that come up in their I guess explanation or experience, and
Hey,
they all claimed to live there. And one time, these guys got in a fight on my stage. That shit was so funny. They started cussing each other out in Chinese. But my point is that I looked it up, and what I did come across the pilot programs. Some of them were decommissioned, but then this over time it's picked up, and this is what like this is kind of talking about how it's not just a Western style FICO score. It is they've made it into this hybrid system. It's like a fragmented public social
It's the
credit
same thing
system
they're
that's
doing with
built
like
and run on
the
central and
Fannie
global
Mae
governance.
loans and Palantir and all of that and seeing and doing risk assess like what they're doing over here, what they're layering on, right, with these data aggregators and the partnerships that are forming on the corporate side that are actually backed by the government. It is slowly turning into what they have over there, right? For example,
fascism.
I will use the risk assessment for the insurers, and for the loan system as an example, right? Sally Mae, right, is working with data aggregators like Palantir to deem whether or not people's risks based on on their like, for example, their auto insurance, right? If you get a lot of speeding tickets or if you get in an accident a lot or whatever, right? There you're less likely to get approved for certain types of loans based on the score that comes back there. This is an example of how this turns into a quote unquote social credit score. They don't call it a social credit score the same way they're not going to call it a CBDC, right? They're going to call it a risk assessment, right? That's what they're going to call it. This is, I'm serious. Look it up. I'm not bullshitting you.
I know.
Oh, you're back.
I brought him back
Hi,
up, but he
John.
has a.
Well,
Well, real quick, besides that, also during COVID, they were heavily surveilled, right? Like that was a big deal during COVID, their lockdowns and the way they handled it.
I mean, we were too.
But
nah, but
it
their
was
shit was the
way
way they made
different.
it seem here was wild.
Patrick, if you don't mind me asking, how long have you been over there?
Coming up on 8 years. So
So
I
you
was
were
in
there
here.
for COVID.
Oh yeah, it was fun. I'll say, just kind of give
What?
you
Are you
sarcastically.
fucking retarded?
I
Hey,
was, I
So
was,
what's up with
I
this
was
guy,
being
Mace? John, you
I
gotta
was,
cool it in my spaces, bro.
I
why
was
are
This
you
being
isn't
asking
this isn't
me?
one
sarcastic.
of your normal spaces. You can't operate like that in my spaces. You
I
gotta
was
show
being
people respect and not talk over them, or
Is
you
he
won't
one of
come
my
up anymore.
people?
I
so.
apologize.
Go ahead,
Let,
Patrick.
I'll give you just a brief overview. Not the entire country wasn't shut down. It went in pockets. You'd have some idiot who would travel somewhere where he wasn't supposed to go, and he'd spread COVID. So for a long time, Chongqing, where I live, wasn't impacted. There were still restrictions and wearing masks and that kind of stuff, but we were pretty much free to do anything we wanted. But then we were locked down for probably about I want to say a month and a half to 2 months. And I actually agreed with it because at the time nobody really knew how dangerous it was, and there were people dying. So I agreed with it. But the second one, which was right
Did you
at the
take the vax? Did you take the vax?
no, I took the Sinovac. I wouldn't. They didn't allow the Pfizer vaccine in, and
But you did take a vax.
Are you judging
yeah,
me,
I
Kirk?
I am
I
judging
took a
you.
vax.
Yes.
I took the Sinovac, which it's made the way that they make the flu vaccine. It didn't have
Yeah, it doesn't matter to
mRNA
me. I
shit.
just need to know if you took the jab or not because it
No,
does.
that's good.
Yeah. Okay.
It's good.
So
So let me finish. So
sure, sure.
the last round that we were locked up, I was getting pissed. It like we were having to get daily tests within our apartment complex, and they had chained, and I'm like, okay. And I actually did a video on it, on a YouTube video on it, and I
They
said,
chained
this is
what?
not
You rugged it for a
making me
second.
very.
They chained what?
They they chained our gate, so there's we live in a gated
The
community with a
government
security guard.
chained the gate to your apartment complex.
Yes, and that was normal, and that's when I saw that I got
That's
pissed.
normal.
I'm saying it was normal for a lot of apartment complexes that they wouldn't allow people to leave. We could leave for
This is
food.
case in point.
We could have food, delivered, but towards the end, people started protesting. They were crashing these booths where you had to go get tested, and that I know of, people weren't arrested. And that's when the government said, "Okay, uh, this thing has mutated into a less dangerous virus, so we're going to open it up." And they opened it up. I mean, when they made that statement, the chain was off the gate, and we were out the gate, and we actually went down to
What
this
do you
place.
think would happen if they tried to chain my gate shut? I can tell you what would happen.
Oh yeah, yeah. But that's
That
uh,
chain would not
you know.
last 2 fucking minutes here. That chain
Well,
would not last 2 minutes here.
if I had had the chain a chain cutter, I probably would have cut it because I was pissed. But I wasn't the only one. Everybody else was getting pissed, and they protested, and the government lifted the ban.
Well, I mean,
So
because when it comes down to it, our governments are their number one fear is always their own people, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, and we've got 1.4 billion people here, so try to manage
But
that. I don't know how
you
they
got
did it.
32 million just in Chongqing alone. It's the world's largest city. It's an absolute
Yeah,
insane city.
it's like 34 million now. I mean, it's crazy. It's big. It's got a higher population than the state of Texas. So, I don't agree with everything that they do here, and I disagree with a lot of
But
things.
you can agree that there is some authoritarian aspect to how they
There
govern,
is.
right?
Oh yeah, of course there is. They
Okay,
they,
so
they
then we're not like feeding. This isn't garbage in, garbage out. I mean, there's a lot of the things that we're saying are authoritarian, and look, I'm saying that the U.S. is trying to adopt these measures. I'm not just shitting on China. Our own government, in what is a free or supposed to be free country, is actively pursuing these same control measures.
And
But
to
I,
be
Doja,
fair to Patrick, I
you have
just
this in
looked
so
it up
many
to
countries around the world.
clarify. I'm sorry, one sentence. To see how much the people of China actually know what's going on in the level of the scoring behind the scenes. And it's saying at the commercial level, like when you're, that's very open and transparent. But
that's like
much of the
FICA.
social, sorry?
They have a similar credit rating system like FICA or these other credit. It's like if you want to get a
Right.
loan
But the
and
hybrid
you're
system, the social credit government led part that I asked how much how transparent is that? And it's not it's a lot of that is done on the back end, and most people may or may not know about it depending on where in the region that they live and whether or not they hit one of the bumpers.
Well, just know that it's not a nationwide thing that's been implemented. Could they implement something like that if they wanted to? Of course, but I will tell you, if you're getting tickets for crossing the street you're not supposed to, which I do quite often, and I never get dinged or get, some kind of warning from, the
Maybe it's
municipality.
because you're in such a major population area, right? Where it's not as heavily in our cities work like that. You can get away with a lot more shit, law breaking in the big cities because they're so congested than you can in the smaller towns and cities around in the United States. I imagine it's probably
You
no
know,
different there.
I don't know, man. The
well,
country, there's
I
not cameras everywhere.
Yeah,
yeah,
there's
well,
cameras
there
everywhere,
is.
even in
There's
Chicago
cameras
in America.
everywhere.
And I
Not in
can
the
There
tell
is.
you,
country. I'm talking about like
I'm
in the
just
country, in the
saying it's
outskirts, in the
easier to
boonies.
get away with shit in a big city that's heavily congested where they have a hard time enforcing laws because there's so many people and it's all happening at once. It's
Oh, I'm
easier
gonna
for
so
them
red
to,
pill the fuck
it's
out of
the
you
reason
because
why
that is
people
absolutely
move
not
to the
true.
suburbs and it's safer is because it's easier to enforce laws in more sparsely populated areas. This is why crime is calculated per capita, right?
so
This
I
is
have to
actually
agree
this is
with
a
you.
statistical fact.
I've
Period.
seen it firsthand. I lived in Chicago and I was downtown, and the cops there won't respond to like automobile if people steal automobiles or if there's like an armed robbery
Yeah, if
in
they rob
there
your
like
car,
in
you have to
traffic,
self-report.
you have to
They're not
self-report.
coming
Yeah,
out to see
it's
you.
a huge it's not yeah, people have some sort of misconception that like, you know, they're gonna help you because they're not. They're gonna sit there in their car and then they're gonna do nothing and they're gonna
But
ask
that
you if
doesn't
you're
have anything to do with whether or
But it
not
has
you're
to do
tracked and
with what
surveilled and
so
identified.
his anecdotal because his anecdotal experience of jaywalking in the city to which he just said himself is the largest population center in the planet, right? Does not necessarily correlate to the experiences of people who live in China in smaller provinces.
Of course, but Trump is here to the rescue with Palantir, okay? And there's
Oh,
real
here comes the
ID that you're gonna
GS.
need to
Come on.
travel and you get your face
Maze,
scans.
Maze, the
Sorry.
problem, the problem, I think, why Chinese and people like Patrick get offended almost and defensive, is because a lot of countries have these measures, right? UK, you can't criticize Israel. Germany, you can't. The prime minister of Spain just had his office raided today because of it. There's no fly lists in America. If you don't pay your child support, your passport gets revoked in America. Like there's so many different measures in other countries that are really no different. And not every country has free speech rules like America does. That is true. And China's part of that. You cannot criticize the government really as freely as you can in America. But guess what? You can't in the UK, you can't in Germany, you can't in Dubai, you can't in Turkey, you can't in many countries around the world. Um,
Hey, GD, can you hear
No,
me?
no, no.
I can
Hold on,
hear
hold
you.
Am
on.
I?
That's not true about Winnie the Pooh.
Well, well,
I've got. Listen, I've gone to
Are
Sam's
we talking
Club.
about Winnie the fucking oh, excuse my
Yes,
language.
this is the kind of stuff that I hear all the time, and it's
I'm
just
not the one
funny.
saying anything about
Who
Winnie the
brought
Pooh.
up Winnie the
I don't know.
Pooh? John,
L-
of all
Hey,
I
people?
brought it up because
let
it's
I
me
did
about
not say that.
censorship in China.
let let me clarify. You can buy Winnie the Pooh. I see Winnie Pooh all the time. What you can't do is use the meme of Winnie the Pooh on your social platform. You can't post it and make fun of leadership. You just
Wait,
can't do that.
what's the reason behind that? So
It's an
Did
insult to
I miss
leadership.
a scandal with Winnie the Pooh or something?
So,
Yes,
Why?
you
so
did.
that's and you can't
No,
criticize the government
guys.
there. That's what we're
The
saying, right?
You can't
Yeah,
criticize
yeah.
them. That's
way that
it's
I
their
Don't
house,
type.
the rules. Yeah, but
the
don't
way that I
say
see
they
this
banned Winnie
is
the Pooh. They didn't ban Winnie the Pooh. It's you can't use the meme. What will happen is
I really don't care about
So
Winnie
what
the
happens?
Pooh.
Hold on,
Like
I do want to know about the
I
well, you
don't
enforcement.
brought it
fucking
up.
care.
I
Well,
You
would
brought
that's
it
the
up,
same
dude.
as the grape
so
juice,
I do
right?
want
No, I did
we'll go
not.
to
Grape
John because
juice.
he was asking me if I could hear him. Hold
No,
on,
I want to move on. I want
Patrick.
to say
Hold
that
on, John, mute yourself. Okay, Maze, you got to tell this guy to chill out.
I mean, I'm
mute
sorry. Okay,
myself.
yeah, John.
Mute
I'm sorry.
yourself
You
for a
gotta be
second,
careful.
please.
Yeah, you have to stay on mute for a
Patrick,
second,
Okay.
and then you can chime in just like.
I'll go right to you next. I know you're itching. Patrick, I have to say, what happens if you do post the Winnie the Pooh meme?
The AI will just take it off, and if you do it again, it'll take
And
it
it
off.
is that system of governance that we are talking about, right? The AI system of governance that restricts speech, right? That identifies dissidents, and then whether you want to say it or not, it is tallying that somewhere on that person who posted that. It's keeping that record for future reference somehow,
Oh, sure.
some way.
Yeah, but
Well, no, no,
but
no.
don't
What do
say
you mean, diligent? China's practically free. It's a practical free country. Like, come on.
Okay. I
Sorry,
think
you
that was
guys. My
that
YouTube
was-
stream, the stream's not doing well. I don't know what's going on, but I
My
can't
point is
fix
that
it.
Stockholm syndrome is really strong. Some people have it, some people don't. But
I don't think that's what
all
it
in
is.
all, no, it's just
Towards my
defending.
country,
No, not
100%.
you. I'm saying when he's coming up here, almost trying to defend China. It's like it doesn't
He is defending
deny the
China. He lives
facts
there.
of what's going on, though, regardless if you love your country or not. Like it's
So
just a
I will
fact.
admit this, Lune, is that we get a very we just like anybody else, we're tribal in nature. We can take the most negative things about something and then make that something all about those negative things in totality and act like, well, there's nothing good about this thing because of the negative things, right? It's the same way when they like cancel people or whatever, right? If we found out, right, that Joa was cheating on his wife, some people will no longer talk to Joa or think Joa is a good person, even if he does a lot of other good things. It's the same thing. You can take the worst aspects of something and then make that the sum of all of it, right? And
Yeah, but
so
you guys weren't doing that. You guys weren't being you guys
I
weren't
was
being
not. All
judgmental
I
towards
was
China.
saying is that China has the best authoritarian system as
Exactly.
far as efficiency goes, and that we are moving towards that system, right? And so like it's just true.
And then I'm just saying,
yeah.
by him coming up here and stating that that is
Yeah,
propagandized by the
it's
American
because
government,
some of it is
that's
to him. That's
false.
fine. He's allowed to have a different opinion. What were you gonna say, Patrick?
No, I was going to say they have, it's probably not streamlined like they want it, but I think eventually the entire world will have a system similar to what China can possibly do. I just want to make the clarification there. It hasn't been implemented nationwide because everybody I talk to and every other influencer that lives here, and I can give you a whole list of names, they fight the same
Influencer.
thing. It's I'm talking about people that live here, have a channel, YouTube channel, or have an X account, and they do kind of what I do, trying
Hey
to
Patrick,
get
I've got a quick question for you
sure,
about
sure.
this purge that is taking place allegedly, with President Xi and the next couple layers of senior leadership within China. I mean, what is the scoop on all that?
So they've had, I forget how many military leaders that they have let go. A lot of them they were let go and put in prison for corruption. I think the trials are ongoing now. I don't know the result, but there's one actually that was sentenced to death for corruption. He was stealing money basically, and so they've had a cleaning out, but nothing like the U.S. U.S. has probably cleaned out 25 to 30 high-ranking military officials. So it's not
What
just
about the
happening in
missing scientists and shit? Is that story real over there too?
I don't know. I've been meaning to research it. I don't know about
Can you
that.
look into it over there?
Yeah, yeah, I'd be happy to.
I appreciate it, and message me
Yeah.
your findings because there was a report going that they also we have the 13 missing scientists. The story about McCasland. I was going to cover it today, but we got into this, and so I think I'll reserve that tomorrow. We'll have the story about the scientists and the rest of it, and we'll just focus on the Iran war and the monetary system and what's going on with our government today. So if you came here looking for that, tomorrow we'll focus on the missing scientists because there's a lot of new revelations and especially around the General McCasland. The story around his disappearance has gotten far more interesting in the last 24 hours. But we'll focus on that tomorrow. But my point is that there was a report that there was also, I think it was even more, I think it was like 16 scientists that were also in energy or space related fields that came up missing over there or had something happen. And I want to know if that's true. So if you can look into that, that would be
Yeah,
great.
I'll dig into it. I'll dig into it. I will say that something like that, if it's like related to, UFOs and that kind of stuff, they kind of suppress that here. I don't see a lot of stuff, news about UFOs
You're
here.
making our
It
point again, but go ahead, continue.
well, I'm not I'm not denying that they manage and govern this country completely different. They've got 1.4 billion people. They've got millions of cameras. In fact, I'm looking at a camera right now where I'm standing. There's one, two, three, four, five. I'm at a cross street here. There's like 6 or 7 cameras, and
We're watching
if
you too.
yeah, good.
Yeah, they're
What do you
watching
think?
you too.
They probably are. Who knows? I mean, I'm sure that I'm known within their system as someone
What do
that
you mean? They don't have a system like that. No, I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. I'm being trolled a little
yeah,
bit.
I know you're being controlled, but they've got to manage 1.4. If you like, I drove the footage, so it's for the benefit of the people to make sure that they get back what was stolen, or if there's a car wreck, they can look at the camera, the footage, and see who was at fault. So I don't disagree with the cameras. I actually appreciate it. So
Well, it
You don't
anyway,
depends on
mind
if you
you
agree
don't
with
mind
the.
the Orwellian aspect of that? The Big Brother is watching.
no, not really. I mean, it works for this country, and this is probably one of the safest countries in the world. I've been here 8 years, and I've never felt threatened. I've
It just
actually
depends on it depends on your preference. Do you
yeah,
prefer
it
freedom or
is.
safety?
It is. So people say, well, are you a communist? Or so I'm not communist. I'm not socialist. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a libertarian. I believe in pragmatism. I if a place is safe, if the healthcare is low, if the food is low, if travel is cheap, if life is good, and education, college is cheap. I got 2 kids, young kids, that I've already saved up enough money to send them to a nice college. You don't have to pay, 15, $20,000 a year to send somebody to college. You pay like maybe at $1,500 or $2,000 a year, and that covers everything. 15 hours. It covers food. It covers rent for the dormitory. It's all done. So why
Well,
not live
just
in a?
in case you didn't know about this, Patrick, not trying to be funny, but they have rewards just like they have punishment. So if you are the law abiding, you got a high score, they actually, you get lots of rewards potentially, depending on the region. But you should look into that. I don't know if it's something you have to apply for or whatever, but anyway.
You're kind of talking at a 30,000 foot level. Give me like specifics. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know of
I'll
any
go
like
read it to you.
reward. I
Yeah.
don't know of any reward system, but what I do know, like in school, if your child is in the top 5, top 10%, most of your college is going to be free. But that's the same way it is in the US.
That's true.
So,
Can you
but
trade can you like for taxes, can you get rewards like items from a catalog? Cuz I know in like other Asian countries like Japan, for example, you can get you can pick out from like a catalog, and you pay taxes and then you get the gifts for it. They reward you for paying taxes.
No, I mean, not that I know of. I haven't heard it. I mean, I pay taxes every year, and
It sounds like some
which are
bullshit they would try here.
yeah, it's not that I can research it, but I don't think they have anything like that. My wife and I, we talk about this stuff all the time, and she's never mentioned anything like that. If there were, yeah, I'd tell you.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Well, that's a good
Well,
question.
I just want to take a moment. Everybody, make sure you're following my co-hosts, Maze and Harmony. Maze does her own spaces. She does the woo-woo spaces. Turn notifications on. If you want to support what I'm doing, turn all notifications on for my profile, and subscribe. That pink button. I'm going to do a subscriber-only after space immediately after this one here in about 20 minutes. The link is in YouTube. Sorry, you guys. I don't know why it keeps crashing, but like the channel. I'll try to get it dialed in afterwards. I think it's YouTube. I don't think it's me, to be honest with you. Go
Hey,
ahead.
Diligent, I got to jump unless you've got any other questions.
Well, hold on. So I was
How many
gonna tell
times has
you.
your handler texted you during this conversation to correct you? I'm just curious.
If I could get paid for this, I would love it. I'd love to have a handler.
But you're an influencer. What do you do for work?
I do voiceovers during the day, and I teach at training school at night. I probably work about 25
You
hours a
teach in
week.
English?
Yes.
Yep.
So look, it's code named Meritown, right? It's used 389 rules to score residents, specifically designed to reward good behavior. You get tangible benefits, loan access, discounts, whatever, blah blah blah. Hold on, there's one about school convenience, priority access, social parks. Okay.
What's it? You
So
said
it's yeah,
maritime?
it's called Meritown.
Oh,
But
okay.
that was the study. But I'm gonna tell you the place. I'll DM it to you. I'll DM it to you just in case if you ever
Yeah,
see it.
DM it.
Okay.
Yeah, and Diligent, before I jump, if you ever want to do, I don't want to say a debate, but if you just want to do like an information gathering, I can get other guys like Carl Jaw, who's got 150,000 followers. I can get probably 3 or 4 other people up here. Carl, like he knows China's history like you wouldn't believe. He's very well informed about, and he's from Chongqing actually. But if you ever want to do something like that, I'd be happy to gather these guys together.
100%. If I ever feel like propaganding my audience with CCP
No.
propaganda, I will hit you up.
Hey, Patrick.
All
So
right.
the voiceovers. I'm curious now. So are you doing like Chinese Mandarin to English?
Yes,
From
I
a
do.
voice. So
I do
you're
dubbing.
fluent. Oh, okay. Now, what kind
I
of what
do
like what kind
dubbing.
of projects do you do? Is it like educational projects, or is it like Seinfeld episodes, or
No, I
something
do.
else?
I do a very famous cartoon series here in China. It's called Boonie Bears. You can go to YouTube. They've got a channel there with several million followers. But
What's it
so
called?
I did.
What bears? What
Boonie
bears?
It's called
Bears.
Boonie
Boonie
Bears.
bears. So
Yeah,
they live in the boonies, huh? Anything
yeah,
but Winnie
yeah.
the Pooh bears.
So you're dubbing it from Mandarin to English?
Yes.
Interesting.
I just finished a movie, the 4th movie, and they're starting to kind of go out into what's the Japanese famous cartoons? What are they called? Anime.
Oh, the
They're
anime. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're doing a pilot series where I play some of the evil.
It
That's
was me. It
okay.
was me.
That
I
was
don't
Lune.
care.
That wasn't me. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I got to rah-rah my audience a little bit, right?
But they're sellouts. F
Yeah, but
goodbye.
that's safety.
My
But
boy,
that's safety over freedom
inevitable
as
China
well.
is here. I'm trying to send him a mic.
That's just like China. That's safety over freedom.
You will own
I-
nothing and be
They're
happy. Who said that?
sellouts, bro.
People here are very free, freer than you think, and freer to criticize the government than you think. There's
Oh
actually.
wait,
What
Go ahead.
was
the?
that where
You're
you
going
live,
back.
Joa? Sorry, I'm not even trying to dox you. I wasn't, but I would say that I always dreamed to go into the little Palm Island and shit and like hang out. But I don't
Epstein's
know.
Island, what?
You don't live there, Joa, do
It's
you?
called Yaz Island. It's so dope, bro.
What's
It's
the
like
flight?
Part time. Yeah, I
I'm
do.
not going to any islands. Fuck the islands. I'm
What
good.
the hell is
I might
wrong
never
with you?
leave
You
the
don't want to
country.
get tan on
I
your feet or
agree.
something? He just doesn't like to get tan. He doesn't like tropical. I'm a tropical
Why?
person.
White looks
Okay.
really good on me, and the ladies love it.
He's silly. Probably get
Hey,
burned and shit.
hey guys,
But
I'm
yeah.
gonna jump.
Thank you,
Thank
Patrick.
you.
Appreciate you, man. You're a
My
good
pleasure.
sport.
Hi, Patrick.
My
We love
pleasure.
you.
Nice
We
talking to you,
love
man.
y'all too. Y'all take care. Bye bye.
You too, Patrick.
All right.
So the reason why we had that little, we had that little segue is because the system that's being described, the monetary system, it all goes back to what they're doing with Iran as part of it. What they say is, now this isn't proven, this is just speculation, really, about moving us to a centralized digital currency backed system where energy, all of energy, not just the petrodollar, but energy is what quantified for AI primarily is what's going to replace the petrodollar, that energy dollar, right? Um, and how that centralized system is going to work like a CBDC, right? Where we move to a stable coin that is primarily being run as pilots under private organizations or privately backed, but eventually we'll move to a more government backed system. That's what led us to the China conversation, because this is kind of what China.
mean, you're aware of this, the shrinking ATM family, that exists out there, and the shrinking corner banks all over, the little suburban city that I live in. The corner banks, they used to be one on every corner. Is like the four corners. They were all competing against each other, Comerica, Wells, and Frost, and so on and so forth. And now that footprint tremendously because people aren't utilizing those services anymore. There's certainly not, hell, my kids could care less, as far as like whether or not they get cash. They Venmo, they Zelle, they, just basically take a look. Well, how much do I have available in my account at this point in time? That's what they're concerned with. So I see cash disappearing anyway. So what is the safest bet that preserves, the ability to have private transactions anonymously, and yet, still, have faith and trust in whatever whatever that system looks like. I mean, what is that going to look like, Maze?
Maisie's asking you a question.
It's
What was the
inevitable.
question?
You're
I'm
you're not going
sorry.
to be able
She
to
didn't listen to
escape.
one word you said that whole time, Sunlight. Can you believe it?
Well,
Okay,
I
so
did listen
speaking
to the
of being
first.
on an island,
I listened to the first few. I'm sorry, okay, because somebody was talking shit about me in the comments, and I usually don't pay attention to that. I never really look at the comments, but today I just happened to glance
Okay,
anyway.
well, fuck those people. They
No,
can.
Sunlight, tell me one more time. Sorry.
yeah. So summary is, we're moving away from cash. I mean, the younger generation could care less about. That's their system. That I basically put some money in my college kids
Yeah, cash
online
is
account.
analog, right? We're moving away from the
And
analog.
yeah, as we're moving away from analog, it's going digital. So what is that system going to look like that where we feel safe that we can still be somewhat anonymous, but yet knowing that it's digitized and knowing that storage is no longer a barrier anymore. As far as like storing data, it used to be like a big impediment. To building these large data models and everything else. Not anymore. So what is that system going to look like to where the
But do
people
you
can
not
have
think they're
confidence?
they're going to be storing data in order to facilitate this new monetary system? Have you looked at the Bank of International Settlements? They published
That's
a.
another thing she likes to say. Bank of International Settlements. I'm just gonna point out the word. She
But you
loves
know
to say
what,
that word.
Billy? It's so funny because when we used to co-host together every day, you
She
our
says
system,
Bank of
and
International
even
Settlements.
though this is
A Jew gets
Jesus,
its wings.
a Jew, did you just sneeze?
Ish,
Okay, look,
We
ish.
say
I know.
BIS,
Okay,
BIS,
my
mates.
but what I'm trying to say is that they very much are going to be tokenizing stable coins in the same fashion. The only thing I'm saying, Sunlight, is that yes, okay, I get your point, brilliantly made. Whenever there were the services that money renders, there were obstacles in which the warehousing of the gold came in handy, and then they had the little notes. I get it. And that made it easier. But then look what happened. This is what happens. It gets corrupt. Now, when you think about that and the way in which they're planning to do this, the risks of this without any guardrails being put in place, like we're vulnerable and we're at the mercy of whoever's at the helm of it. And so I think that there are ways. Okay, so I think as a collective, we should draw lines and where like efficiency shouldn't be the priority, right? Like, like their efficiency is a priority, but right now it is such the priority that it could ultimately backfire on us in ways that you can't even fathom. But we're not taking those things into consideration and talking about it. I don't think they're very public. Oh, doom, doom, doom. I see rants up here. I did look through your post, which is very related to all of this. And but I just wanted to say something like I think that yes, there are things that we can do to improve. We have to change systems anyway. We're on a crashing train, right? And I just feel like the people are not even aware of how it works, much less participating in it in any meaningful way. And that's the problem. And I'm going to come to you in 1 second, Rance. I just wanted to introduce my friend Inevitable China. He's amazing. He's very smart. He's got a lot of knowledge. He
I've
also lives
argued
in
with him
China.
in spaces before a long time
You
ago.
have? He's cool as shit.
Mhm.
What are you guys are? I don't even can't even imagine him arguing. Well, yeah, I can. I have seen him smash a few people. But okay. But yeah, thanks for
I think
coming
it
Another
on.
was
white
kind of
boy,
cordial.
another white boy in China, by the way.
Yeah, is he?
Sure am. Hey, what's up?
Hi, how are you? I wasn't sure. I always imagine you being Chinese, but you can be white,
Maze,
right?
it's like you have
No, I'm
He's
white.
efficiency
Chinese
and
in spirit,
convenience on
Maze.
one
In
side.
spirit.
That's,
Before we leave it,
I'm
Maze,
Macau
you have
Chinese. Go ahead.
efficiency.
It's up to them.
Well, DARPA's killed that. Like in '02, I think, like that's when they implemented that whole total information awareness deal. And that was the beginning of the end, right? They completely like co-opted any semblance of like privacy. And they included data mining and pattern recognition software and pretty much
And
everything.
instead of
And they
running it
forced
publicly, they took it
Microsoft.
underground and ran it as Palantir.
Well, right. They eventually did, right? But leading into it, the war on terror was pretty much the uh, gateway to all of it, and all of the data that you use for any electronic communication, pretty much from there down to metadata and anything like communication wise, all of that was established as for the use of the government in America. And no, like Microsoft and Intel had this huge antitrust lawsuit in the 90s, and it eventually came down to uh, components being too, if you will, streamlined, like or components being too physical components and hardware being too monopolized, right? But that was the pretense of what they actually were planning to do, which was to take Intel and create backdoors for the CIA for every single you know, if you will, processor, and allow it to be surveilled on, and create these backdoors specifically for this case of so-called national security. And if you look into even WikiLeaks, Vault 7 pretty much came out and established all of this with this Year Zero program, which is this global hacking program for all of the modern devices like, iOS and Android. And by modern, obviously, I mean 2009, which is why, say when Obama got in, he was only using Blackberries because I don't believe they had the OS for that. And that Weeping Angel project as well says that they even go through the smart TVs, right? And they can install them pretty easily through network and create these fake off modes. So pretty much every hardware device that you can think of has always been gathering your data. It's just been a matter of, like you said, Diligent, using that data for more practical purposes, and being able to actually sort that out through Palantir and through AI in a much more efficient manner. So yeah, they've known, and they've just been building it this entire pretty much for the last 20 years for this purpose. So any
I agree.
pretense of anonymity and privacy, it's always been a pretense, and all of that data from maybe even 20 years ago, well, definitely 20 years ago, has all just been waiting and being backed up in these national storage servers, if you will,
Now it
for
just
the
comes
further
down to
use.
openly
Yeah.
using it, right, against us or in a way that moderates us, where that's more of what the fight is now. It's not them, right? It's the credit score system that we're fighting against now, and the regulatory powers of a centralized authority and its ability to get you to limit services, right? Like when I say limit services, these are banking, like your banking transactions, travel services, right? Your ability to travel other countries or to different states, or how you travel, right? These are all things that could be regulated by a centralized authority under this premise with the data that they've been aggregating for over the decades, and increasing the efficiency of that aggregation, as you said.
Right, but
So Rance
the
has
only
a
problem. Okay.
really I was just gonna say how it's gonna be applied here. He's done extensive threads on it, and I think can give us a little bit more insights. And I do have some questions for you after that. But go ahead, Inevitable, if you would have responded,
Oh
Dilly.
yeah, I'll just be quick. Yeah, like the only, I guess the only, and I mostly pretty much concur, Diligent. I think the only problem is with the difference there is that, in China, any data gathering that's done and any infrastructure that's built is for and of and by the Chinese people, and that of course there's a one party policy, a one party system, and everybody here knows that. But in America, it is not run by Americans. It is a co-opted system. They use multinational and private, so-called private companies that, yeah, they get publicly traded in many cases, but a lot of that, for example, like Prism, right? That was a specific direct server access to the big FANG companies. And they use this for data collection, and we all know Facebook started off as a DARPA program. Um, what is it,
Life
whatever it's
log.
called, LifeLog, yeah. But yeah, like now in this case, what they do is it's this like private control, and I'm just gonna say Jewish control of what should be a
Israeli
system that is,
control. It's not just
well,
Jewish.
sure, fair enough. But that should be something that American citizens have a say in, but they never will. And there is not going to be. I think even the idea that this is going to shift to a public, you know, controlled basis, a government controlled basis, right? Well, that gives people the illusion that they can just simply have the government as their enemy, but it's not. Right? The government is actually just a vassal for these Israeli interests, right? And so they can collect and store that. And this is why Israel, speaking of which, has so much input in the cybersecurity realm because they're a comptroller. They're the comptroller for the fate and destiny of Americans. So I compare America to the Qing dynasty of China, except with the core difference being that the Manchu rulers of the Qing dynasty are Israelis who are in completely different, in many cases, working and helping the IDF, funding the IDF. They are Jewish or dual citizens, and they have no leanings or beholden. They're not beholden whatsoever. They can freely leave and go, right? And establish the same control. Whereas the Manchu rulers in China, no matter what happens, they'd have to go down with the ship, and so they have stake in the, or they have, yeah, they have like stake in the game, if you will, right? They have
A vested interest.
the vested interest, exactly. So that's kind of my point there, is that like, and currently now with the Communist Party of China, it's always going to be that way to a much deeper extent, right? Whereas the Manchus were still pretty aloof and disconnected. The party, pretty much the fate of the Chinese people, um, is tied in with how well the party does, and the anti-corruption campaigns that President Xi Jinping has put on since 2013 have been like, they kind of speak for themselves. Or unfortunately, the West calls them purges, but everything that's open and open secrets, which is just used to basically taunt American people. Can you imagine if that actually came with repercussions, right? I think that's what I wonder if it'd be interesting if that started to happen and they started to call it purges elsewhere. I think it'd be pretty funny to see, but there's no
Hey,
chance of
inevitable.
that, unfortunately. Go ahead.
Have you been smoking opium? I mean, are you actually
Hey, no
uh,
personal attacks,
Hold
surmising
on a
gentlemen.
that
second.
Washington? I'm
Sunlight,
joking.
please do
So,
Where
not.
are
Don't
you
be
actually
mean.
saying we should
where wait
hold our
where
leaders
did that
accountable?
come from?
I
Oh
said, are
well.
you
Opium?
actually saying we should hold our leaders accountable? I'm joking with you. It's like,
Okay.
yeah, I would love to see accountability and transparency in this revolving door from K Street end tomorrow.
So with that being said, I wanted to tap in with Rance really quickly because he'll slip on out of
Yeah,
here
we're
and then
going
tell me
past
again.
my hard stop at 10:30, so I'll
Well,
give it like
that's
10 more minutes. So go ahead, Rance.
okay. Rance, tell us about your thread and anything I guess related to the conversation that you want to share.
No, I think this is an important conversation, right? Because everything that's happened in the last 2 weeks here is the biggest restructuring of the American finance system since 1913. You have April 21st, right? Paul Atkins came out at the Economic Club of Washington. He's the new SEC chairman. Dropped a bombshell that nobody's reporting on. He basically said that they're splitting up the digital assets into five buckets: Bitcoin, not a security; Ethereum, not a security; Solana, not a security; USDC, USDT, PayPal, stablecoin, not securities. Okay, so if you take those are the four out of the five buckets, those are just all gone. They just walked out on the SEC or SEC's
So you're
jurisdiction.
saying that those are not PayPal and all that stuff is not considered a security?
Yeah,
I know
they
Bitcoin
just
isn't, but they're not decentralized though. It's like,
no, but this, yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. I'm sorry, you tossed me off. All right,
You said five buckets. Four of
yeah.
them are
So
not a
this is the
security.
five
You
bucks.
said
So that was
four,
on
and you were
April
going to get
twenty
on to the
first,
fifth.
right? So if in that same meeting, he also says that Apple, Tesla, Nvidia can now trade on chain. So they've been traded on chain for over 2 weeks now with his blessing. Okay. They haven't passed the Securities or the Clarity Act, right? They're literally calling this, he literally called it the regulation crypto infrastructure. So public listings are down 40% since they made this announcement. Hasn't been this bad since the 90s. And he basically said in a quote that Wall Street is now trading on blockchain, that a 233-year-old capital market monopoly just got handed an expiration date for 1 week. This was May 8th, okay? So, or May 7th. May 8th, BlackRock, $14 trillion in assets, files for an SEC fund. Uh, and nobody's holding them accountable for any kind of stable reserves, right? There was no press release on it. Okay, May 12th, three days later, 72 hours, BlackRock joined them. Okay, so now you have all the top five in there. In the same week, the DTCC, a name that probably nobody knows, but you guys should all know, they traded $4.7 quadrillion flows every year. They're trading $3.7 trillion a week now. Or a day, sorry, a day now on the market. Okay, that's fucking insane, right? Nobody's talking about this. These are just an announcements that the Chainlink and the U.S. market collaterals on the blockchains are just announcing. Uh,
When you said, what did they apply for exactly? You said they
they're
filed
S1 applications for them to become a currency.
to become a currency outside of the SEC to be a
Yeah, so
commodity.
now they're all becoming their own currency market framework under Ripple, and this was pushed off by Trump signing that executive order on the 19th, I think, that said that they're forcing the Federal Reserve to rule on the crypto master account applications within 90 days. That's what they're talking about, right? So instead of you having to apply and wait for, let's say, 2 years, which is what Ripple has done, right? They're fast forwarding these applications already, and Kraken got one yesterday or the day before.
Guess
It might
what? If they do not respond or whatever, this is what the crazy thing about the clarity. If they don't respond, then they by default become the commodity, or they get set into that
100%. And this will make the
regulatory.
very
Yeah.
first crypto firm, Kraken and Ripple will be next, that are trading directly into Fedwire. Okay, that's insane. Kevin Walsh, he gets sworn into the Federal Reserve just what, a week ago, right? And then he discloses that he's holding $130 million and $209 million across 30 different stablecoin projects. Okay, the man who is running Americans' monetary policy has nine figures in early crypto stablecoin currencies. All right, but then let's zoom out from that, right? And if we're going to look at the big picture, you have to look at there's 198 different public companies right now that are holding 1.2 million Bitcoin right now. Okay, that's a little over 5% of Bitcoin that will ever exist. Okay, the reason why this is a super important number and why they have to lock this into the corporate balance sheets, because after their record pace of selling, they are now locked into the market and can never get out. Okay, you will literally crash the world's economy if you try to ban cryptocurrency right now, you will crash the world's economy. It's so entrenched right now in the last 2 weeks that they have already said that if we pull it out or if we try to change off it or move off this trajectory, we will crash our economies. So there's no other stopping it than to continue adding on to it. All right, that's very important, because that's where you have Capital 21. 21 Capital came through with Fitzgerald with the S Pack, backed by Tether, SoftBank, and Bitfex, and they own 43.5 thousand Bitcoin, and they're basically running this firm for Brandon Lutnick. Okay, uh, his father, Howard, is the Commerce Secretary of the United States. So ask me how all these family members are now tied up in the policy, the custody, and the capital formation of this entire currency scheme is all locked into like 7 people in one family. All right. Meanwhile, you have Strip out here, Bridge for I think $1 billion. Then they brought Tempo. And the reason why they did this is because Tempo does like the transaction, right? Bridge does transactions. All of these little plug-in merchants that they purchased were all transactions to do hundreds of thousands of transactions a second. So now with all BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, all these companies coming in, they basically are now allowed to create their own AWS for their dollars, right? It's like a Series A I don't know, bond market. I don't know what they're creating. It's fucking crazy. I'm sorry for cussing. It just blows my mind. Nobody's talking about it. I don't really even truly understand it, except for the fact that we're building out currencies for stable coins for corporations, which basically means that if you start your own company under a crypto firm, that you can start trading your own currency under Ripple and Tether, and basically that's what all these companies currently are doing right now. They're out selling Visa, Mastercard, Bank of America, and you know, it's just they're all coming down the pipeline. This is all happening here within the next 60 days. I thought we had until at least December 19th, because that's when the DTCC said that they were going to have all their assets digitalized to where they would have an actual backing guarantee of like a real value of money to a stable coin value of money. So now the question is that everybody needs to ask is who's putting the value on these tokens and who controls it, because we all understand and came to a trust conclusion on what the dollar's worth. So if I'm just allowed to open up my own company and create my own stable coin under SEC regulations that are out of play, then at that point I can run my own currency, and I don't understand how this all works. So if anybody wants to expand on that, please do. But that's what's happening, and we're about to
Well,
have
you can't
thousands of
open
different
up.
currencies,
You would have to. Okay.
thousands of currencies, Maze.
No,
It's
I know they're
crazy.
talking about the crypto though. That so basically they want to
That
be
is all
able.
crypto, all of it. Everybody's gonna
Okay.
have your own individual coin.
It's backed by treasuries. That's the key. All stables are backed by
That's how they're
treasuries.
gonna
Well,
also dilute the
then
debt, because if they split that out between
yeah,
everybody, now
motherfucker.
that
Like we are homies,
Oh, okay,
homies.
cool, cool, cool.
Yeah,
I
and
talk
he
to
just
people over
that's
all the
why he
time,
calls
and
himself
it is because I
Ross
want to control the
because
narrative.
he rants, and I have to tell him like, "Yo, bro, slow down. Talk to me like I'm in third grade." And he takes the time to help me learn.
But I only
So
control the narrative to hand it off to the people.
well, so here's the thing. I just wanted to kind of like they need something to be able to transact with when it comes to the stable coin. So USD1, what are they going to be able to within that sphere transact with? So they're trying to push them through and to get ready to go through one of these regulatory pathways. So whether or not it's going to be a security or commodity. I think that the rush on it actually signals more of a bad news or de-dollarization occurring. But JP, to your point, like when it comes to the T-bills are just very liquid. It's not the best system, but this is what they're using to transition into the new system. And I think we should probably further explore like what, Joa was saying.
But I
And
don't
see,
have time to do it
not
right
tonight, not
now.
tonight. I mean, listen, I had a yappuccino. I'm just gonna be sitting here yapping. You just tell me when you're ready to go. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Um, I will. I promise you, we will revisit this. I will do a whole space, a planned space, on the monetary aspect of what's happening here. I think what we'll do is we'll tie it in with AI because they are correlated, and the geopolitical policy that is being used to back all of this because it
And
goes
energy.
back to Greenland and Venezuela and the broader geopolitical strategy that is underpinning some of the other things that we talked about. And so I think that like there is a bigger discussion to be had. I kind of just wanted to do like I haven't hosted a space in like 4 days, so I was just gonna kind of do an update to catch us up. Obviously, there's a lot of interest in this topic because it's what dominated the space. So, what I'll do tomorrow is I will host a space on the other subjects I wanted to cover, and then maybe Thursday or Friday, I will. Oh, wait, tomorrow's Thursday, isn't it? Maybe Friday, I will host a space on AI, energy, and the monetary system. What do you guys think?
Yeah, maybe we can get Charles Hoskins. I saw him in a few spaces rants,
I
you know,
can get some
rants.
big AI people in here.
We can, yeah, I think the AI and the monetary system component together is going to be a very interesting conversation. And then
And
also
people have been begging me to talk about the data centers, so that's going to be a
data centers
crucial
is a
point.
whole different one
Well,
because
that's
I'm gonna tell.
perfect.
So I think the data centers is huge. I think it's a huge, huge deal. But I'm gonna tell you right now. But because of the level of like shit that comes with this, it is so crazy. Everything from environmental to the laws that they're passing to shut
Yeah,
people up to the.
we won't get onto like all of the
You're
like
talking
fine
about like the
nuance.
energy usage of them or
You know
something
how
like.
I do.
Yeah, yeah, I got you.
I'm a bull in a china
Okay.
shop.
Okay.
Sunlight, do you have something you want to add real quick?
Yeah, just real quickly, I mean, on that whole thing, I just wanted to again reiterate the spectrum, right? The fulcrum in the middle, and if it goes to the right, you have more liberty and anonymous capability. If it goes to the left, you have
Anonymity.
and use easy for you to say.
Anna,
What
I'm
did
going to
you
teach
call it? A
everybody.
yappuccino?
Hold on. I'm going to teach everybody at once. Okay.
Anonymity.
Anonymity.
All
Good
right.
job.
Anonymity. Got it. Anonymity. So, to the right, to the left, you have more convenience and control, and you compromise, the liberty and everything from the right for security. Whether it was the stagecoach, taking the payroll and they had to run shotgun on it. I mean, it all created issues. When there were runs on banks, they had to have, a fail stop and everything. So it just kind of evolved, and here we are. And I would just also add that ARPANET is the precursor to the internet. It was also a defense contract, and they developed all the protocols that became simple mail transport protocol, transmission control protocol, internet protocol, hypertext markup language, everything because they made that available to the public because it becomes very very expensive to have all these outposts. Just like the example that Patrick gave as far as like how many police do you have to police a population of 1.3 billion. When you can leverage technology, get everybody onto the internet and onto, up on all the information, their affinity, their sentiments, all those types of things, via these various applications that exist out there. Yeah, now you can build a repository and you
It's
have a
all
very
about
good
scale.
idea. Yep, you have a very good idea about what diligent is all about, what your affinities are, what Maze's affinities and sentiments are for XYZ issues, for preferences, for clothing, for
I wonder
food,
how many
everything.
lists I'm on. I bet you I'm quite a few. Quite a
Oh
few
yeah,
Oh,
lists.
full disclosure.
you're
I
on a
found
bunch
out
of
I'm
lists,
on a list.
diligent.
I should tell you.
You
Just
know
so you
you're
know.
on lists.
Yeah, I
You're
do.
on
So
lists.
listen,
You name names, like the Seinfeld episode.
But
But
yeah, they're
in
working
any
on
are you
event,
collective
trying
so
to tell
punishment
me
pretty
something,
soon.
Sunlight?
yeah. Well, the
But
beatings will
it won't be
continue
free.
until
I can tell you that
morale
much.
improves.
When it comes to
Yeah.
me, it's going
So
to cost them something.
it's very interesting, what we see happening, right? The disappearance of the mall, the consolidation into Walmarts, into Targets, into Amazon online, and all that, all for convenience, all for in retail, we had a concept called extend the aisle, right, where you had like two blenders on the shelf, but you in the internet realm, you could have 50 different blender colors and styles, right? So you could extend the aisle. So when you think about what has happened with retail, it's just a natural evolution of how people prefer to conduct business and to give up their money. So There we are
Well,
again.
until
They
the
know
system
more about
breaks
us
and
than
until the scam falls apart, and then they have to use it to
A
stop the riots,
uh,
and suppress
people
the
who would
uprisings.
sacrifice security, would sacrifice liberty for safety deserve neither. On
I
that
say
note,
Americans
have a
don't have
good night,
either.
everybody. God bless you. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. Thank you, Maze. Thank you, Harmony. Thank you, everybody else. Appreciate you guys on stage. We'll have a bigger conversation about AI, data centers, monetary systems on later on this week. I promise you. Thank you, Maze. Moving over to the subscriber only space. It's up in the Jumbotron. And we have a subscriber group chat if you want to get added. If you want to subscribe, there's a pink button on my profile. We'll see you guys over on YouTube tomorrow. Like and share the channel and have a good night. God bless everyone. And please pray for our country and the world, but really for America right